go. You're good.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We will now reconvene the City Council special meeting. Are there any final actions?
Good evening, Madam Mayor. No final action tonight.
All right, we will now adjourn the City Council special meeting and call to order the City Council regular meeting for Tuesday, November 28th. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Aquino.
Here.
Chalem-Cherla.
Here.
Kozlowski.
Here.
Rohrbach.
Here.
And Rodriguez.
Here. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Are there any agenda updates?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there is a revised staff report transmitted for item number 4 on tonight's agenda. A copy has been previously provided to you, and it is also available on the table in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. And Mayor, I'd also like to share that we are going to take items 1, the presentation from Folsom, Cordova, followed by the consent calendar ahead of business from the floor. And we are going to continue presentations number 2 and 3 to a future date uncertain. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, will the clerk please call the next item?
Okay, your next item is scheduled presentation, item number 1. This will be the Folsom Cordova Unified School District updates, feasibility study on district reorganization, facilities, and potential funding options.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Martin. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services for Folsom Cordova. With me tonight is Matt Washburn, our Chief Operations Officer, and Jerry Wickham, our Director of Facilities. Tonight, we're going to do a quick presentation. This is accumulation of approximately probably about 10 hours of presentation, so you get it in 20 minutes. So hopefully it will be brief, but to the point. Tonight, we were asked to present to you all 2 specific items, one with regards to reorganization discussion, and then the other one is with regards to facilities, specifically with regards to the areas that are within the city limits of Folsom. So I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. With regards to the reorganization, I know the City Council took action to approve a cost-sharing plan where between the City of Rancho Cordova, the City of Folsom, and the Folsom Cordova School District, we will be sharing in the cost of a feasibility study to look at potentially splitting the district or reorganizing the district into 2 distinct districts, one more or less representing Folsom and one representing Rancho Cordova. I have some history here with regards to the conversations in the past about reorganization. This is not something new to Folsom Cordova School District. As you can see, back in the mid-90s, there was an actual measure put on the ballot to split the district, which did not pass. In the early 2000s, there was action taken by the Folsom Cordova Board as well to potentially split the district, but that was also no longer put forward after some board discussions in 2004. At this point, where we are is we have hired School Services of California to provide a detailed analysis of the 9 criteria, as you can see here, that are required to be met to move forward on a reorganization discussion. And so I know you, majority of you were able to attend the joint meeting that we had with School Services and reviewed that. At this point, all the data information has been provided to School Services. We're hoping to have a draft here by the end of the calendar year with the intention of bringing both city councils and our school board together sometime in January or February to then review the report. At that time, then it would be up to either city council or the school board can take action to potentially file a petition to continue the process of reorganization, which would then go on to the County Office of Education Reorganization Committee to review. They would review the same 9 criteria. From there, it could potentially move on to the State Board of Education. And then ultimately, if it continued through the process, it would actually go to the voters within Folsom Cordova to vote on whether or not reorganization would be moved forward or not. So that's kind of where we are at this time. We're still waiting for that draft report, and then we're also working with staff for both city councils to try to get a date on the calendar. As we know, it's a lot of folks' calendars that we have to coordinate to make that happen. So any questions on the reorganization conversation before I move on? Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So the next item is an overview of facilities in the district. So I did want to spend a minute just talking about how how our facilities are done in Folsom Cordova. So Folsom Cordova is a little unique in the fact that we have 5 separated, distinct, what we call school facility improvement districts. So rather than to pass a debt service or a bond, general obligation bond, over the entire district, the district tried to do this in the 90s and was unsuccessful. What they did was they instead split the district into distinct areas. And originally the two areas were SFID 1 and 2, one representing the boundaries of, at the time, which was Cordova High School, and SFID 2, which was Folsom High School at that time. And so there were 2 distinct, I'm from El Dorado County, sorry. The 2 were separated out in that way. And that's originally how the district was able to pass school bond measures to be able to do modernization and new construction facility projects for Folsom Cordova School District. Later on, SFID 3 was created, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which is the area south of Highway 50, east of Sunrise, all the way to the county line. That's within Folsom Cordova boundaries. So that was created because of the fact of there was obviously quite a bit of development, future development that was planned within that area. And so a bond was passed, a $750 million bond, Measure M. We're going to talk a little more about that in a minute, for the purposes of constructing all of those schools. I think it was 20 plus schools that was planned at that time. Now, remember, this is in the early 2000s, and financing, costs of schools, a lot of other factors came into play on that. And so the SFID 3 was created. When that happened, then for future projects, SFID 4 and 5 were created for the existing schools that were located in Rancho Cordova and Folsom. And so now SFID 1 and 2 at this time are not actively being used. We're still paying off debt service. But we have SFID 3, which is south of 50, SFID 4, which is Rancho Cordova, and SFID 5, which is the area that would be considered Folsom. So those are kind of the SFIDs that we have in place. And within each SFID, at least one debt service has been issued on each area. And so I have a couple of slides just defining each of the SFIDs that overlap with the boundaries of the city of Rancho or Folsom. So SFID 2, you can see some details here. That is again, no longer actively issuing any debt off of SFID 2. We're just paying off the remaining debt associated with Measure C that was passed in 2002. SFID 3, we're going to speak more to that. I have a couple slides speaking specifically to the area, the new development growth. Folsom Ranch is part of SFID 3, as well as Rio del Oro and some other development areas. And SFID 5 is more or less the existing schools, so everything north of 50 in the Folsom area. And so you can see there that one measure was passed in 2014, Measure G. And currently where we are with that measure, just so everybody knows, we are still using the remaining proceeds. We don't have any more authorization. We are thinking that probably around 2026, we will need to probably come forward to our community for another bond to continue modernization projects in SFID 5. So SFID 3, so specifically this is the area south of Highway 50 again, and you can see here there are 5 development areas that are scheduled to be planned within SFID 3. The one large area on the far right, that's Folsom Ranch. You can see there that's anticipated to be about a little over 11,000 homes once fully built out. And then you see in the unincorporated area, if you're going to the left or to the west of Folsom planning area, Folsom Ranch, there's Glenboro and Easton Place. Those are in an unincorporated area, and so they're outside of the boundaries of either city of Rancho Cordova or Folsom. And then continuing on, you see Westboro, and then down in the bottom left corner, you see Rio del Oro, and you see that development as well. Originally, when SFID 3 was generated and the bond was passed, it was initially planned that Rio del Oro was actually going to be the first development built. And the first high school was actually going to be located in that area. Obviously, that was right around the time of 2007 when the housing bubble occurred, and so all development stopped. And so nothing really occurred south of Highway 50 until Folsom Ranch started development again. And so that's been the first development within those areas that has happened. Now, there is one other development. If you look at Rio del Oro and you look on the eastern corner there, you see that little triangle. That's North Douglas. That actually development has been completely developed out. That was the first development. So, And so this timeline, just so you're all aware, is an older timeline with demographic data from several years ago. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is we have another study session coming up, and at that study session, we're going to be revising this timeline. So this is just informational for you. But what you're really seeing here is that at one point, the plan was all of the schools on this sheet were going to be able to be funded from that one bond, that $750 million bond. Between that, the developer fee collection, and then matching dollars from the state, it was thought that in the early 2000s that all of those schools could be built. At this point, based off of that, you can see that red line there. That's where that Measure M, that $750 million bond, at the time that this was generated, we felt the funds would no longer be available. And in essence, there would only be potentially 5 schools potentially built with those dollars. And so that was obviously a concern, an issue that we had to take a look at. And we're going to talk a minute about some of the reasons why that's the case where it is. So. And that's this next slide. So really what happened here is as I think everybody's familiar with, is escalation. So first thing is early, from the early 2000s to 2020, that's a significant amount of time. And so just cost overall have increased. But just since 2016, when the designs were originally done for the first elementary school, Mangini Ranch, and also the designs for the high school, Folsom Ranch, both of those costs have more or less doubled since 2016. So at this current, using total cost at current time, Folsom Ranch is projected at costing around $400 million in current 2023 dollars, no future escalation on that. Alder Creek, which is being completed now and will open in August of '24, that school is budgeted at $85 million to be completed. When these schools were originally designed, the cost was half that. And so what that is leading us to is that we are having to go back and redesign both the elementary and high school designs to now fit into a much tighter budget. And so that is something that the board has already authorized us to do. We actually have a pool of 5 architects that we've brought on to help with the design work associated with all of those projects, along with modernization projects that we have throughout the district for our existing schools. And so we're working on that. We're also looking at ways to reduce costs. The truth is to reduce costs, you need to really reduce square footage. And so where if you've been to Mangini or been through that campus, you'll know that that's a single entry access point. All of the buildings are self-contained, connected together, and not what you consider more of a traditional school, which is a campus style, spread out, open hallways, things of that nature. We are looking at a model that probably goes back more to that nature. Additionally, we do have second story on that building, and so we're probably looking at going back to more of a one-story model to reduce costs. So we're doing some of those activities, and we're working with architects and to design some buildings that can meet all the student needs educationally, but we can put it into the budget at a reduced cost. So, additionally, on the high school, we're looking at multiple phases. Traditionally, you look at maybe 2 phases, but we may look at 3 or 4 phases depending on build out and need and cost. So some other issues with regards to SFID 3 that we're continuing to talk about. We have about $545 million of the $750 million that has not been issued. When we issue those bonds, there is a component of what is going to be the tax rate for those folks that live in Measure or in SFID 3. So we are going to be bringing some information to the board at the next study session on the December 12th to discuss that and look at how future access of this $545 million will impact the tax rates for everybody that is in SFID 3. One of the biggest factors is the assessed value or AV growth, making sure that we are estimating that so that we can have an idea over the life of the bonds what the tax rates will be for those things. So, additionally, if you go back to the timeline that you saw previously, we run out of funds around 2028, 2029, and so, but there was a whole list of additional schools that need to be built, which means at some point we will need to go back out to the community and request the passage of another bond to continue building these schools. And so that's something that we also need to talk about is the timing on that, how will that be implemented, and potential tax rates associated with that as well. And so the other things we need to talk about are the SFIDs. One of the issues we're coming up with the current tax rate is because we have zoned out the area by SFID 3, that is not a normal school district. In a normal school district, you use your entire assessed value for your community to pay for all of your projects, and you're able to more or less share on the cost over a much larger tax base. Because we are defined only within SFID 3 with Measure M, it is a very smaller assessed value tax base, and so the costs associated with building the schools are continuing to rise, and so the dollar amounts necessary to build those schools will increase the tax rate significantly if it's only defined within SFID 3. So, what we need to do is look at long-term solutions on a way that we can issue enough debt to build the schools, but do it in a way that the tax rate is not unbearable for our community. So that'll be a conversation that will also be happening with the board as well. So, a few things on our hands on that. And just so you know, we are working with consultants to do revised enrollment projection growth, assessed value growth, revised costs, and most of that information we're going to be providing at the December 12th study session, which will then really get into the conversation about all of the financial components of moving forward on building schools. I know there's been a lot of questions about the high school and where the location of that will be. So just going back to just some historical pieces, as I shared before, originally the very first location, the location of the high school that was going to be built was actually in the Rio del Oro development area, because that's where the original development was supposed to happen. Obviously, that did not occur. The district then shifted over to Folsom Ranch, and so that is where we've been designing for the new school, is in the Folsom Ranch area. And so the timeline for that was 2029. We will be looking at that with the eyes of the updated demographic projections and when we get at capacity for our existing schools. One of the things, though, that the board has asked, and our board often asks, is to try to look outside the box at all potential solutions. One of the concerns within the community was if the entire $750 million was issued out and that entire debt service still has to be paid over 30 years, both sides of the communities that are in Folsom Cordova would pay that debt, but then potentially not both sides of our community would receive an equal allocation of facilities associated with that. And so that was a concern that our board asked us to take a look at. So we looked at some options. Some of the options that we looked at was potentially, at this point, the first two elementary schools are being built on the Folsom side. We looked at an option where, dollar-wise, to equally allocate the resources, looking at it, the high school on the Rancho Cordova side is a potential option. However, staff did recognize there are a lot of different factors that would impact that, including transportation, attendance boundaries, the equity of distribution of services, and timeline for those needs. Another option that was discussed or floated was the idea of maybe building two high schools with the remaining funds, a smaller comprehensive sky school on both sides, potentially looking at that. And so, we've talked about that, and we're continuing those conversations as well. The demographics show that the Folsom side is in need of a school around 2029. That's our previous analysis. We'll be bringing revised analysis on that. And then Rancho Cordova was around 2037, 2039. So that's something that we're taking into consideration as well. So one of the things that we've also done is we've been very active with other developers that are in south of 50. And so we're working with them to try to get updated projections of build out of the homes within those communities. The biggest wild card that we have right now is the land that is, and I forget the name of the company that now owns it, but it was more or less the Aerojet property. So we're talking about Glenboro, Westboro, and part of Rio del Oro, a good portion of the Rio del Oro. Those areas are ultimately the most area of homes, but we don't know when those will be developed out. And so that really has an impact on the assessed value and demographic growth. So we're going to be doing some analysis on that and providing that based off of meetings with the different developers within the community. So So we have a lot coming forward. And so where we are as a district at this point is we are moving forward on redesign of both the elementary and high schools. We are looking at potentially trying to use the Mather Morrison Creek, which was the original design in Rancho Cordova. Just so you know, that is a high school, middle school combined model. For economies of scale, it is more beneficial. So if we're trying to look at reduction of costs, this is something we can look at where there's a centralized more or less spine that shares for administrative services, cafeteria, some of those shared buildings, but then a middle school is on one side, high school is on the other. So we are looking at that and also working with the local developers on seeing if we can accommodate that within the Folsom area, because the current land that we have allocated to us for the high school would not be large enough to do a middle school, high school model. But we've been working with Rob Aragon and his team about trying to see if we can access some ways to make that feasible as well. So those are conversations that are happening as well. The board has asked for us to try to find some solution where there's an equitable distribution of the Measure M funds. So that's something on the plate as well. And then, as I shared, we have a next meeting scheduled for December 12th. So that's going to be another study session, evening board meeting starting at 6 o'clock. And in that, we're really going to be diving in, just so everybody knows, we're not going to be making any decisions on locations of schools or any of that nature. What we're really going to be focusing on is the demographics to determine when we need our schools, so we can update the timeline of when we need to issue the debt service. Then look at the tax rates associated with that and the impact on the community with that rate. And then potentially what's the next step in line when it comes to the financing of schools for Folsom Cordova. So, all right.
Thank you, Sean.
You're very welcome.
Any questions for Sean?
I have a couple of quick ones. What's, generally speaking, the combination of the attendance of Folsom High School, Vista Del Lago, and the potential third high school that falls within the boundaries of Folsom? What's like the peak attendance that you expect?
So that's a great question. We're working on those calculations now. Based off of the original calculations, we were believing that around 2029, we would have, I think, in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 students. That would be kind of the minimum number to start up the new high school. And so at this point, we are I think we're at about 2,800 students at Folsom. And we're slightly under 1,800 at Vista. Both schools could take additional capacity if we do some adjustments to hot seating and some of those things where we rotate teachers around, and we can do some temporary housing options. There is a plan that ideally you are in a situation where you're always going to be kind of right at capacity when the next school is open, because you don't want to open the school before you have enough students to make it viable financially.
I'm just wondering if the trend for Folsom and Vista is downward or upward, and if one doesn't, if as their populations go past their new resident bubble, that they don't end up having, still maybe a need to increase capacity, but an ability to absorb capacity.
Yes, yeah, and that is something we're looking at.
So that's why I'm looking at, what's the time horizon where you kind of hit peak between the three sites.
Exactly. And that is an analysis we are doing. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but you are exactly right. We are seeing a trend where our elementary grade levels are actually in decline from year over year from what our 12th grade level going out. So over like you're speaking to, we are more or less a declining enrollment district except for all of the new growth. Right. And so the new growth fills that in, and then at some point it exceeds that capacity. And so that's that break-even point that you're talking about there.
Yeah, and the obvious lead-on question is one of the options that you're looking at adding capacity at Folsom and Vista?
Yeah.
Because that may actually be the most economical solution, and there are high schools with bigger attendance on smaller pieces of property. So.
Yeah, and we've talked about temporary housing and some of those things. That will be one of the cards in our hand of what options are available when we come forward with the board. Again, one of the big pieces for us is we need enough growth within SFID 3 to keep that tax rate at a level that's sustainable for our community, right? And so if we can postpone or build out at a later time, that allows us to postpone when we have to issue that debt service until the assessed value grows enough. So that's something we take in consideration as well.
I'll be interested to see what you come up with.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sharon?
Oh, I'll just be quick. Two things. I just want to make sure you know that we have a city council meeting on December 12th. So while our counterparts from Rancho Cordova will probably be at your meeting, don't think that we're not interested. We'll just be here. Kind of to piggyback on my colleague's question, has the board discussed, or will they be discussing at one of these study sessions, possibly eliminating inter-district transfers to try to create some capacity? And if so, could a carve-out exception be made for those folks who live in American River Canyon in Folsom but live in the San Juan School District?
That would probably be a future topic when we start talking about capacity levels, yes.
Okay.
But it has not been a conversation at this point.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Just to reiterate, I know we talked in closed doors, but I'm asking this in the best interest of the community as well. On December 12th meeting, still you may not have the data where and what type of high schools are coming.
Yeah, the answer to that would be for sure we will not. We will not be making a decision on the location of the high school at the December 12th meeting, and we will not be determining what style of high school at that point. I think that is a conversation. We're working on the design, and we're working so that we can have that design on both sides of the district, wherever it needs to be placed. But the priority right now, at least the next study session, is really the timeline of when, and really looking at the funding costs and the tax rates associated with it. So that'll be the next meeting, but that will be coming at some point in the future.
In the future.
Yes.
And certainly that time you will have more options. I know we can definitely expand the existing 2 schools, or we can go with a phased approach of Folsom side as well as Rancho side. That's on the next meeting. I just want to make sure for everyone's understanding.
Yeah. So again, at the next meeting, we really probably won't be diving in discussion of the actual building of any schools. We'll be really talking about tax rates, demographics, and when schools are needed for timeline of budgeting. So it's really going to be more financial nature is the next study session. But in future study session, we definitely will be having those conversations.
Right.
Okay.
In that financial discussions, you are going to present the options, the future SFIDs also as one of those options. If Folsom goes on a SFID number 6, 7, whatever that number is.
Correct. We could be looking at multiple new SFIDs to allocate the cost between the communities differently. We'll probably also look at a high level, if we were to do a high school, what the tax rates will be, what would that look like, what's the timeline for that, but not the location of it or any of those pieces.
Got it. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome.
So I'm kind of interested in the equitable part that was in your slide. Where has the primary debt been served so far?
At this point, the primary debt, honestly, up until the last 2 years has been through the North Douglas community, because that was the first development that was built. So remember that we issued debt originally in 2007, I want to say, approximately, and really the only development that was in that area was in North Douglas. So that was the about 700 homes that is north of Douglas Road there, that I was talking about before on that triangle near Rio del Oro. So that's been the group that's been probably paying the debt service the longest.
But you said without thinking of the last 2 years, but with the last 2 years, the numbers on there were 2,800 and I think 75 homes.
Correct.
In
About 700
Folsom.
homes, versus 700 homes, So recently,
2,875 homes in Folsom Ranch versus about 700, I think it was 80 homes in Rancho Cordova area. So it seems to me that the bulk of the people, the kids going to this school, to whatever new school we start, would be coming from Folsom Ranch.
for right now, yes, for the near foreseeable future, for sure.
And the fastest growth is also in Folsom Ranch.
Correct, that's correct as well.
So it seems to me that would be equitable to build and also my understanding is the demographic where a lot of communities, you have elementary schools moving in, middle schoolers, but for some reason, Folsom Ranch, maybe it's because of the price of the homes, there's a higher age range going in there. So a high school is very much needed in Folsom, and I believe in Folsom Ranch. So are you going to be looking at that too? And is there a way to make it equitable for Rancho Cordova that they do get a slice of that money that they are due, but we still focus on getting a high school and middle school in Folsom Ranch?
Yeah, And your answer is yes, all of those things will be discussed with the board as options and what's available to do that. When we're talking about equitability, we are talking about the past, the current, and then of course the remaining 30 years of development that we'll build out. And looking at over that 30-year life, what the amount of debt service is paid from both components of our community. And so that's part of what we're looking at, is not just the current, but the long-term over the 30-year life of it as well.
And so obviously with the direction of my questions, you know where I stand on this. I'm Folsom first, and I know that we desperately have been promised and need a high school here. YK and I are both on the 2x2 committee. We appreciate, all the information that you've given us throughout this last 6 months. And I wish December 12th wasn't the same meeting as our meeting, but we will. I know my colleague, Councilmember Aquino, went to the last study session, so I hope that we can all be there, and I hope that our community can be there too, and make sure their voices are heard.
Right.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And just so everybody knows, it is live streamed, but it's also recorded. And so the video, you will be able to watch the presentation afterwards on our website. And in fact, all the previous presentations that I alluded to are also available online as well, if people want to get caught up on everything SFID 3.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to quickly make, because we do have the best interest to represent City of Folsom in your meeting. Some may know that we are sitting here as a council, but not everybody. The live stream of KCRA 3, they don't know. There is no Folsom council members here. It's all Rancho. Will there be a request from us to at least move your meeting to accommodate? We want to come and speak in a very legitimate way representing City of Folsom. It's important for the public and for the media and all those. Will that be possible to change that day?
I can definitely bring back that request to the board and to our superintendent. It takes a lot to get us a special study session just with our board, and we have our consultants and everybody lined up for that date, so it may be hard to reschedule, but I can definitely take your request back.
Okay.
All right. Well, Sean, thank you. Well, I watched the meeting at the Folsom Economic Development Corp., and when I watched the presentation, I knew that this was something that had to be presented, just so that the residents of Folsom will understand that this is what is currently the state with the funding for SFID 3 in Folsom Ranch area. So thank you for the excellent presentation. A lot of good information.
Awesome.
All right.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
Oh, we do have one request to speak.
Yeah, my only comment is, Sean, just for your information, I'm going to ask my city council whether we can move our meeting to some other day. So I just want to put that in front of you. That way we represent our city at your meeting.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, you actually have 3 requests to speak on this item. The first will be Elena Wagner, who will be followed by Justin Zong, who will be followed by Sung Park. So Elena, are you here? Okay, come on down.
Good evening, Elena.
Good evening. Apologies. My husband was at the library with the kids and just wanted to say goodnight. So I am here tonight as a Folsom resident who lives south of 50 in the Folsom Plan area, also known as Folsom Ranch. The Folsom Cordova Unified School District is deciding in the coming months where to build schools out of measure and bond dollars. The district's own estimates are that 2/3 of the bond money will be paid by Folsom Ranch residents through 2035. And it is a fact, this is from the district itself, from their communications department, that 86% of the students in the bond area live in Folsom Ranch as well. We're asking you to support us as Folsom residents in securing much-needed school facilities for the more than 1,600 students that live south of 50 in Folsom Ranch. Separately, the City of Folsom has invested time, passion, and dollars into the development of Folsom Ranch. We have 2 elementary schools which will be filled to the brim, and soon our first business, Capriati's, is opening next week. We're all very excited. And with 36% of the city budget arising from property taxes, we need to ensure that students have schools nearby and that the areas and neighborhoods are desirable because that is fiscally relevant to the city. And with the structural deficit faced by the city and an upcoming proposed sales tax, ensuring that Folsom dollars remain here for school fundraisers, athletic gear, and Costco grocery pickups is imperative for the continued success of the city. We are asking you to protect your investment and reach out to the FCUSD board and advocate for building new schools where the students are. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena.
Okay, your next speaker will be Justin Zonk. Justin will be followed by Sung Park.
Thank you. And if we could, just for the sake of time, because we have another few speakers coming down the pike, we can just hold the applause till the very end. Good evening, Justin.
Good evening. My apologies for my handwriting. I'm Justin Long from Folsom Ranch. I am retiring in 2 days from the Navy after 30 years, and I wanted to give you a quick sea story. In 2010, I worked for my boss, Admiral Willard, at the Pacific Command, and we prepared him for testimony at the House Armed Services Committee, getting him ready for any questions that he might have. There was one question that we did not have an answer for, which is when a congressman asked him, if we were to be shipping several thousand Marines to the island of Guam, being that it is so little, wouldn't that much people with all of their equipment cause the island to, and I quote, tip over and capsize into the ocean? It was funny. We got a good laugh out of it, and it's one of my favorite sea stories from that time. But he came back and said, well, he was just being metaphorical. I don't know if he was or not. I'd like to apply that to our situation now as a resident of Folsom Ranch. There will be a time, probably in the not too distant future, when more citizens of Folsom live south of 50 than live above it. Is that going to cause us to metaphorically tip over and capsize? I say that you have to metaphorically prepare yourself for that eventuality by making sure that it is a self-sustaining community that has everything that it needs. And that's why we're talking here about SFID 3. It's already starting to tip over and capsize metaphorically, not only for the city of Folsom, but as Elena just said, 86% of SFID 3 being here versus Rancho Cordova. We want to make sure that the Folsom Cordova Unified School District is paying attention to the equity, as we mentioned, and paying attention to making sure that we are a self-serving community. We disagree with the numbers that have been put forward. I know they're continuing their study and they're going to bring up more information. Again, I'm from the Navy. I have a lot of different data that I use from Navy recruiting that suggests that it's going to be exponentially bigger than we think it's going to be. And that need is going to be now, not 2029 or beyond. That high school is going to be needed much sooner than you would think. We want to make sure that we are self-sustaining as a community so that we don't tip over and capsize and need all of those resources from up above 50, sending our children up into trailers in Folsom High School, breaking the capacity bounds of Vista, and possibly shipping down to Cordova as well. We want to be a self-serving, self-sustaining community and have everything that we need. And this is so vital. So many of us moved here for the prospect of good schools. So many of us here want to make sure that we are a self-sustaining community. And it begins with making sure that this is equitably done. So please, let us not capsize Folsom and keep it where it needs to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin. And just so that you know, we are a city that loves and honors our veterans, so thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Sung Park.
Good evening.
Good evening, Folsom City Council. My name is Sung, and I'm a resident of Folsom Ranch. I'm here today with my wonderful neighbors to ask for the City Council to help us by being present at future school board meetings on facilities. Additionally, we are requesting the council to emphasize to the Rancho Cordova City Council and the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Trustees that the Measure M fund is for the students in the SFID 3. In the past 3 weeks, my community has learned that the complexity of this school issue and identified some obstacles. We have currently reached out to people in Rancho Cordova and trying to work together. We believe that the Measure M Fund must benefit all students in SFID 3. However, in the future, this SFID 3 must be separated, or the school district may separate. With that in mind, we need to use the remaining Measure M Fund to be used to build the foundation of TK through 12 solutions in both communities. And each community build on top of this foundation on their own in the future. We want to work together to find a creative and innovative idea to quickly deliver TK through 12 solutions to both communities based on the current and foreseeable future student population under SFID 3. And the school can be expanded in the future on their own. We are looking for creative ideas to achieve this goal, and we would like to work with residents from Rancho Cordova to work toward to this goal. The main obstacle that we have encountered through this grassroots campaign is that the large community south of Douglas in Rancho Cordova under Elk Grove Unified School District has been extremely vocal about the school facilities under SFID 3 discussion, obviously under Folsom Cordova Unified School District. This community has been there before the Great Recession and for nearly 2 decades without secondary schools in that region. Students in that community are being bused to middle and high school 30 minutes away to Elk Grove. I feel their pain, but they belong to a different school district, and the remaining fund is not sufficient to provide schools for them.
Son, your time is up. Just wrap it up.
All right. I would like to request the Folsom City Council to work with the City of Rancho Cordova and the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Trustees to put students in SFID 3 under Folsom Cordova Unified School District first.
Thank you,
So
sir.
we can work together without noises.
Thank you.
Okay, you have no more requests to speak on this item.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the council? No? All right. Will the clerk please call the next item?
I believe as the city manager announced, we'll take up the consent calendar next.
Okay. And just for a reminder, if anybody's here for item 2 and 3, those have been moved to the next meeting on December 12th.
Actually, a date uncertain. We're not sure
Oh,
if it's
date
December,
uncertain, okay.
but not this meeting.
Okay.
If nobody wants to pull anything, I will move adoption of the consent calendar, including the changes to the item 4.
Second.
All right. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Council members Aquino?
Yes.
Chalem-Chella?
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
Rohrbach?
Yes.
And Rodriguez.
Yes. Will the clerk please call the next item?
Yeah, that takes us back to your business from the floor.
All right. Business from the floor is the public's opportunity to address the city council concerning any item within the city council's jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Please keep in mind that the city council is generally prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item that is not on the agenda. Public comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes. There is a speaker timer on the podium in front of you that displays the time you have remaining on your 3 minutes. We ask that everyone respect the 3-minute time limit to ensure that all speakers have an equal opportunity to address the city council. All right.
Okay, I think we have almost 60 requests to speak, so what we'll do is we'll call the next speaker and let you know who the next 2 speakers are going to be, so you can be ready when you hear your name called, and if you're out in the hallway, you should be able to hear us as well.
And if I can just say that if there is a speaker that has said what you intend to say, it is okay to just summarize the comment, just so that we can take the next 3 hours and bring it, down to a reasonable time. Okay.
Okay, your first speaker will be Mohammed Al-Souk, who will be followed by Tariq Kaswina, and I apologize for the names I get wrong, and who will be followed by Hannah Hake.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mohammed Al-Suki. I'm a Folsom resident and Dr. Kaiser and my friend Tariq, and I'm here yielding my time to him.
Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I'd like to address the declaration from October 24th. I have been in discussion with you, Mayor, and I know that there's plans to do a revision of that declaration. I wanted to share with you that there's many city councils in California and throughout America that have adopted resolutions calling for an immediate permanent ceasefire. In fact, expeditiously and unanimously yesterday, the City Council of Oakland adopted a resolution calling for a ceasefire. And it is, their city is a role model that I would like our city to emulate. It is worded so perfectly that I want to read it and share it with everyone. Whereas all life is precious, and the City of Oakland's official motto, Love Life, calls on elected officials and residents alike to protect life and stand united against violence. And whereas the City of Oakland condemns the recent rise of anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, racist, homophobic, and xenophobic attacks in our city and across the nation, including the doxing of elected officials, students, professors, journalists, and others speaking truth to power. And whereas the City of Oakland advocates for the safety, dignity, freedom, and equality of all people, regardless of religion, race, or nationality. And whereas over 1,000 people in Israel and more than 11,000 Palestinians, the number is now actually 20,000 Palestinians. This was worked on 2 weeks ago. The numbers have changed because of the indiscriminate carpet bombing of Palestinian civilians. So over 20,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed in a matter of weeks, of whom over 7,000 are children. And whereas the City of Oakland recognizes that the current crisis takes place within a long history and affirms that for a pathway to lasting peace and justice to be developed, the root causes of the crisis need to be addressed. And whereas Gaza is in a dire humanitarian crisis that is getting worse with each passing day, with the only remaining hospitals running out of fuel and medical supplies, and over 1.5 million Palestinians facing displacement, homelessness, and starvation. And whereas international organizations like Amnesty International, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and the U.S. Agency for International Development, and many others have made a call for a ceasefire in order to prevent the further loss of life of civilians and to be in accordance with international humanitarian law. And whereas 66% of American voters support a ceasefire, according to an October 20th, 2023 Data for Progress poll, and want to see the U.S. leverage its diplomatic relationships to prevent further violence and civilian deaths. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Oakland supports U.S. Congress Resolution H.R. 786 and joins other cities in calling on our Congress members to demand an immediate ceasefire, release of all hostages, the unrestricted entry of humanitarian assistance into Gaza, the restoration of food, water, electricity, and medical supplies to Gaza, and the respect for international law, and calls for a resolution that protects the security of all innocent civilians. This is such a perfectly worded resolution, and I'm hoping that you can adopt some of this language in your declaration. Again, a ceasefire is a call to saying that we are against the indiscriminate bombing and killing of women, children, and babies. Can you imagine, in our dear city of Folsom, an average classroom of 25 kids. In every classroom, 5 kids out of those 25 kids are amputees. My dear honorable city council members, this is now the situation in Gaza. 1 out of every 5 kids is an amputee because of the carpet bombing. We have not seen this level of destruction and death since World War II. This is unheard of. This needs to stop. We need the city of Folsom. We need to send a message to President Biden, to Governor Newsom, that this is not in our name. This does not represent the wonderful people of city of Folsom. We need to do everything possible to call to an end to this violence on both sides. And I am very hopeful that in your revised statement that you are going to include language for a permanent ceasefire. I think this is the realm of your jurisdiction, because any violence like this, any indiscriminate violence, fuels hatred, Islamophobia, and anti-Semitic attacks everywhere, including in our community, including in this community. So yes, it does have an impact on us, and it is your duty to protect our community. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Tariq.
Thank you.
Can we please hold the clapping until the end, just so that we can get through everybody who wants to speak tonight? Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker will be Hannah Haig, followed by Saiful Haig, who will then be followed by Aman Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Hannah Haig. I just wanted to bring a perspective of a student to this crisis that we are all facing. I'm a sophomore at Folsom High School, and I have lived in Folsom for about 10 years now. I've grown up in this town, walked these same streets, gone to the library next door, and I've been seeing these meetings on TV for as long as I can remember. And never in my life have I been so disappointed in the people of Folsom. I'm sure we've all heard about the atrocities happening in Gaza this past month, the various human rights violations, even the hate crimes happening in our own country. Over 15,000 have been killed in a month, and with over 40% of those being children, according to UNICEF, I can't help but wonder if we even understand what that means. As an elementary schooler here, the biggest injury you're expected to endure is a skinned knee, a bruised shoulder. The kids in Gaza, however, expect a lot worse than that. They expect airstrikes and familial deaths. They expect collapsing buildings and starvations, amputations without anesthesia, pain and misery, and they expect death. Can you imagine what that must feel like? A child being subject to these horrors every single day, being forced to endure the war crimes committed without the guarantee of a better future. Can you imagine what their parents must be feeling? Many of you in this room have children of your own, nieces and nephews, cousins and siblings. Can you imagine the pain they must feel as they write the names of their loved ones onto their limbs so that they may be identified in death? And we are still silent. Knowing that this is the reality for tens of thousands of people, we are still silent. How can we refuse to condemn the hand that drops these bombs on innocent civilians? Refuse to even say a word in solidarity for the thousands, if not millions of refugees fleeing for a crime they did not commit? People argue that we are thousands of miles away, that we can't make real change. But if you refuse to acknowledge the suffering of those in another country, at least acknowledge the suffering of those in our own. Even here in America, we are seeing hate and misinformation leading to attacks on innocent civilians. A 6-year-old in Illinois, 3 university students shot in Vermont. Racism does not listen to borders. It's present here too. It does not compare to the atrocities in Gaza, but this is a problem we can do something about. We can use our words, condemn the hate crimes happening as a result of the war, fight misinformation and the spread of Islamophobia and racist propaganda in our own country and city. Call for an immediate ceasefire. We can, if nothing else, use our voices to support the people who need it the most. Thank you for listening to what I have to
Hannah,
say.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker will be Saiful Haig, followed by Aman Khan, followed by Faisal Ali.
Good evening.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. And blessing on you. That's what the translation is. And first of all, I would like to thank you, all of you, to give us opportunity to speak up. And we are first generation immigrant here. And when we migrated here, we thought we left inequality, imbalance, injustice, less of opportunity to speak up. And we came this land of opportunity. So we thought we can speak up, we can speak for justice. And So I thought that's what America may be America because of opportunity, land of opportunity. But I was surprised to see recently quietness or being quiet what's going on the other side of the world. And I think being America as a superpower cannot be stay quiet and watch under our nose that justice is happening on the other side and be quiet. And we are not speaking up against, even in US Congress, somebody speaks up, labeled as anti-Semitic. And I don't know if you should, you know that Rashida Tlaib speak up and she was censored. And it also surprises me that in Israel, I saw in the news, there are some peaceful Jews, they speak for Palestine, they speak for Gaza, they speak for peace. But in American Congress, American City Council like that, they are still debating that should talk for ceasefire or not, yes or no, even though they're not being, going through it. So Muslims usually are being blamed for being anti-Semitic, and I would like to show you some historical facts for before 1948 that Muslim always helped Jew or for that matter any human being which are wherever the injustice happened. For example, in 638 AD when Khalifa Umar, which is like kind of president for Muslim Ummah, he conquered the Jerusalem. He allowed first time Jews to pray there and perform their services. Before that, under Roman Empire, Jews were not allowed to enter to Jerusalem. So he was the first allowed Jews to, and then when Spanish Inquisition happened, 1492, Spain basically expelled Muslim and Jews equally from the Spain. And they had a two choice. Either you, if you want to stay in Spain, you have to be Christian, or otherwise you have to leave
15 seconds.
Leave the country. And so Muslim and Jews equally expelled from Spain, and the only country who received those two nations were Muslim country,
your time is up.
Morocco and Palestine. So,
Sir, your time is up.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Aman Khan, who will be followed by Faisal Ali, who will be followed by Sami Khan.
And again, if I could just ask for all the applause to be held to the very end. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor YK, and respected council members. Greeting me to all of you. My name is Aman Khan. I am a member of Muslim community of Folsom. I am here to express my views about genocide and atrocity committed by Israel. And Israel, after the air bombardment, then the land attack by tank destroyed everything, hospital, homes, schools, and this destroyed everything. Also, the people have nowhere to go, and they keep on bombing. More than, I heard 15,000, but now I heard that about 20,000 people have been killed. Most of them are women and children. And you don't have to be a Palestinian or Arab. You have to have a heart to realize these atrocities. So the person before me or before him said enough about the Oakland City resolution, and we should follow the same pattern. And we know that Gaza has become an open prison for decades. They have no access to anything, no access to the outside world, no electricity, no food, no medicine. So this is too much for us to bear or see. Unfortunately, our US government is complicit in this also. We are giving billions of dollars to Israel to kill people and unlimited access to weapons. Our Secretary of State have been traveling around the world asking the head of state to be quiet, don't talk about humanitarian pause. So he also asked the Qatar government to stop Al Jazeera for showing news about Gaza and the killing and atrocities. while CNN and Fox News are day and around the clock, they are giving news to the people, and there's a double standard. So we ask you to review your resolution of the past resolution and have a balanced decision and keeping people of Gaza in mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aman.
Okay, our next speakers will be Faisal Ali, followed by Sami Khan, followed by Lubanya, Chavanri.
Good evening.
I'll be giving my time to Sami Khan.
Okay.
Good evening.
Okay.
My name is Sami Khan, and I've been a resident of Folsom for a little over 4 years now. I'm here as a member of the Muslim community of Folsom. Before I begin, I want to share with you that all my Muslim brothers and sisters here, or the ones who are currently present in Gaza, Palestine, or around the world, when we meet each other, the first thing we say is something called Assalamu alaikum. You must have heard it from somewhere, right? And it literally means peace be unto you. And yet here we are as a people, as a nation, which is currently going through immense and worst nightmare of loss, havoc, unrest, turmoil, distress, and discord in their lives. You see, just a few weeks back, I had to take my 1-year-old son for his doctor's appointment. And by God's grace, when I took him in, he was well fed, he was dressed warm, and we were given a dedicated room where the doctor and the nurse showed up. And he was given his shots for the 12-month appointment. And it took it no more than 5-6 seconds for the nurse to give him the shots. In spite of all that care that he was given, he screamed and he shouted. And that really broke my heart as a father, right? And shift gears. Think about this, right? Just imagine a place in Gaza, a hospital overcrowded with people, dust, smoke, blood, and screams everywhere. And then you see a doctor operate on not an adult, but a mere child, no more than maybe 6 or 7 years old, literally on the hospital floor. And the parents are watching over the doctor's shoulder. Can you even fathom to imagine what those parents and hundreds and thousands of them in same situations are going through when they witness their children being amputated in front of their eyes on hospital floors without medical supplies? Just think about that. This is 2023. There was a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, in one of the live videos that I came across. She had a bone literally sticking out of her leg. Sorry if it's TMI. And you know what? She was probably so numb mentally and probably had seen so much destruction that she wasn't even crying. A little girl. Can you even imagine that? Even as adults, we tend to look away when a gruesome scene shows up in the middle of a movie. And there are people, young and old, who are literally experiencing this firsthand, as we speak and meet in this warm and cozy hall. You see, it's the age of social media. Anyone with a phone and a camera can conduct a social experiment, post it online, and make some money out of it. I'm proposing something to you. Me, us, we, after this meeting, go out to a local fitness center, a gym, find a very healthy, muscular, fit, 200-pound man, even volunteer to give him money for a social experiment. And let's ask him if he's willing to get a wisdom tooth removed without anesthesia. Do you think he's going to go for it? Do you think he'll be able to bear the pain? A fit, well-fed, muscular person cannot even endure that pain. Now, believe you me, I came across this just a few days back and my wife showed it to me. There are women who are delivering babies via C-section on hospital floors without anesthesia. Can you imagine that? 5 out of the 7 members in front of me are women. I hope you understand that. We have seen several women in here, and unfortunately, it doesn't even end there. What we found out is after some of those babies were prematurely born, they were placed in incubators. And some of them died only because there was no power supply enough to support those incubating devices. Can you even imagine that? Is that what humanity has come down to? Even as a 40-year-old man, I do not have the guts to watch those videos anymore. I stopped clicking on videos and images. It doesn't matter what faith you belong to. It doesn't matter if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, if you're Christian, if you're Hindu, or even if you're an atheist. As long as you have a heart that beats inside you, this should matter. It should shake your soul. Why we are all here for the second time? Why is it taking so many people, multiple visits, to convince just a handful of people to do the right thing? We are not asking for you to go and do something over there. We are not asking for you to send your family and relatives to go and do something there. We are not asking for you for monetary, charity, or aid to be sent to those people. No. All we are asking for is a mere acknowledgement. Just a few words that people in authority like you can put in writing that can make a big difference. I thought when I wrote this down yesterday, I had 17,000. I just found out it's 20,000. Innocent lives have been lost. Do you have the courage to closely view their personal story? Try to look through their eyes. For every single one of them, I really doubt it. Please do something about this. Many cities across the country have already acknowledged these facts and requested for a permanent ceasefire.
20 seconds.
And we expect nothing less from this council. That is the only way we can look into the eyes of our children, our grandchildren tonight, tomorrow, or the day after and tell them that we did everything in our power and try to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If we could please hold the applause to the very end so that we can get through the next 40 speakers, please. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Lubna Chabouri, who will be followed by Sarah Ahmad, followed by Faris El Kassain.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Lubna Chaudhry. I will read from my cell phone. Okay. I'm an immigrant from Bangladesh. I admire my Bengali heritage and feel proud. I think we all do love our heritage. At the same time, we should respect others. I believe that in my bottom from my heart. I never visit Palestine and was not aware of the Palestinians' pain that Palestinians are suffering from last 75 years. From social media platform, by now, we should all know that it has not started on October 7th. It started way before that. Suffering of women and children are unbearable. Prior speakers already mentioned the statistics, like 20,000 people already died and how many we don't know under the rubble. I will tell you a story about a kid named, martyr child named Abdul Rahman Abdullah Abu Dhakka, an 8-year-old boy. Had a very spontaneous personality, made everyone who introduced with him love him. Despite his young age, he dreamed of growing up to become a doctor, to treat patients. But his dream was cut short by Israel airstrike and occupation. He was injured in the head due to an Israeli airstrike on his home and passed away the same day on October 20th, 2023. Another brutality of the Israeli regime is to stopping the humanitarian aid to get on Gaza Strip, which caused the people suffer more. I will tell you the quote from Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta, a surgeon from London who just recently came from Gaza after 41 days. Listen, he was a surgeon in Al-Shifa Hospital. Channel 4 interviewed him. In the interview, he said, very carefully listen, we were so short of supplies and wounded were so overwhelmingly in terms of numbers that we were having to do procedure without anesthetic. I was forced to do dressing change on massive wounds, excruciatingly painful wounds. There was a girl with just her whole body was covered in sniple. She was 9 and ended up changing her, and she was crying, like screaming the place down. So I would request you to please convey my message to permanently do ceasefire and stop this concentration and camp and occupation by Israeli on Palestinian people.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Sarah Ahmed, followed by Faris El-Kassain, followed by Yasmin Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for doing what you do. All of us, I have to say, do appreciate your commitment to this job. But as is the nature of the position that you have, we do have expectations from you. I've been a Folsom taxpayer, 25 years, raised my family here. My kids are all grown. They, they studied at Folsom schools and, enjoyed the many beautiful and wonderful things that Folsom has to offer. So, we have a very strong, long-time connection to Folsom. I'm not going to go into the details of the many that everyone has mentioned that have died in this collective punishment. People have thrown around numbers, 15,000, 20,000. What does that even mean? I mean, 15,000, 20,000, does it make a difference whether it's 15 or 20? Thousands of people. How many people are here in this room? 100, 150? I don't know. But how many people, how big of a room does it take to fit that many people? 15,000, 20,000 people. That's, wrap your hand around that figure. I digress. I just want to tie up all the sentiments of the people that are present here today and at the previous City Council meeting and their call for the resolution for a ceasefire. You've all watched the videos, pictures, the news. It's everywhere. Everyone knows what's, the atrocities that are being committed in Palestine. When you watch that, are you asking yourself why this concerns me and how it relates to the Folsom City Council? This call for a resolution for ceasefire affects you because it affects your constituents. It should affect you personally because you want to stand on the side of justice. When it comes to justice, either you're on one side or the other. There is no middle ground. A lot of Folsom voters who have voted for you in the past are requesting something very specific from you. And their future vote for you will no doubt depend on the position that you take right now. I implore you to take a side. I implore you to let it be written in history that you stood on the side of justice and against injustice while in office. There are cities much larger and much more populated and with many more issues than Folsom can even imagine that have already passed a resolution for the ceasefire. And I can list the names of those cities for you, but I may not have enough time, so I'm not going to do that. Richmond, California, Cudahy, California were one of the first. San Francisco is currently debating it. Oakland just passed the resolution.
15 seconds.
There are many cities around the country that have already passed the resolution or are debating that same resolution right now. What I want to ask you is, and I want you to ask yourself, where is Folsom on this list of cities that have already passed the resolution? Why are we falling behind on standing for justice?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Faris El-Kassain, I'm sorry. Followed by Yasmin Khan, followed by Riaz Mohammed.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you once again. I remember in early 2000s, I spent the summer in Kuwait at my grandma's house. I was around 14 years old at the time. That summer, Egypt had lifted some of the restrictions allowing Gazans to travel. That summer in Kuwait, I got to see my cousins for the first time. I saw them for a total of a few hours. We left an unfinished game of Monopoly. I didn't know that would be the last time I get to see them. They returned to what is known by the United Nations and the human rights groups as the largest open-air prison in the world. Since 2006, Gaza's water, land, and air has been besieged, a siege enabled by our country and funded by our state and federal tax dollars. Members of the City Council, you and I are directly funding 3.8 billion American taxpayer dollars, which is sent to Israel. 600 million from the state of California. Money that is used to massacre, to bomb, to displace, money used to keep Palestinians under occupation, money used to uphold apartheid regime, money that could be used here for our roads, our cities, and like we learned today, our schools. Members of the City Council, I come to you from a people that are being erased from the face of this earth. Israel limits our food, limits our water, limits whether we can get cancer treatment or not. Then it massacres us when we try to resist this injustice. Regularly, senior members of Israeli government call for genocide against us. Some term it mowing the lawn. The defense minister calls us human animals. You might have thought to yourself at some point, and maybe even on your way here, why does this council need to involve itself with issues happening thousands of miles away? Members of the City Council, this is not an issue happening thousands of miles away. This is an issue happening here in Folsom. Many Folsom residents are Palestinian refugees denied their right to return to their homelands. For now, we see Folsom as our home, and we feel betrayed. Because in your statement that you issued, you refused to see us, you refused to see Palestinians, to see me as equals. I got to see my cousins for one day. One day, I got to return to my life of a peace in Folsom, where we don't have to worry about white phosphorus falling on us, burning our skin and our eyes. We don't worry about bombs blowing up our buildings. We don't worry about protecting our children from seeing dismembered body parts on the side of the road as we walk with 1 million people and our neighbors evacuating our homes while we're getting bombed. In the Muslim tradition, we believe that when a person sees injustice, then it is their duty to stop it. If they cannot, then they should speak out against it. And if they cannot, they should at least know it wrong in their hearts. Members of the City Council, we're not asking you for much. You have been given a level of authority and responsibility. And I echo the many that will speak today that use this opportunity to stand on the side of justice.
15
and please
seconds
pass the
first.
resolution pushed forward to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Yasmin Khan, followed by Riaz Mohammed, followed by Talba Mohammed.
Good evening. I'm going to defer my time to Riaz Mohammed.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Rabbi Shahli Sadri, Westerly Amri,
I'm sorry, can you speak into the mic?
Of course. Esteemed members of
Or you
City
might want to
Council.
pull it towards you.
Better?
Yeah.
All right. Esteemed members of City Council, Mayor and Vice Mayor, I recited a small prayer. The prayer I recited before addressing you is the prayer of Prophet Moses, peace be upon him, when his Lord commanded him to tell the tyrant emperor, who had a history of enslaving and torturing the children of Israel, that what he practiced was wrong. The rough translation of that prayer is for me my task, and untie the knot from my tongue, that they may understand my speech. I have been in this country for 17 years, and in your beautiful city for more than 2 years. Our city and cities around this great country have thrived on the ideals of democracy, liberty, and justice for all. However, recent events have compelled me to address a matter of utmost importance, and that is racism. Before I begin, I want to define the term for you. Racism is a belief that certain races are inherently superior or inferior to others, leading to discrimination. It involves the systematic mistreatment, exclusion, or oppressions of individuals or groups. Racism can manifest at both individual and institutional levels. Racism, when happens at the institutional level, has a far-reaching consequences. It is unjust, and we all can agree that efforts should be made at each level to address and combat racism. In our diverse and inclusive city, it is disheartening to witness racism. A few days earlier, my children's Quran teacher in the city of Folsom was standing at a pedestrian crossing, patiently waiting for a large vehicle to either pass or come to a halt. The driver stopped, granting her the right of way. Filled with gratitude, she expressed her thanks with a simple hand gesture before proceeding to cross the road. However, just as she reached the midpoint of the crossing, he accelerated his vehicle and braked within an uncomfortable proximity to her. She was panicked and froze. She was unable to comprehend why this sudden change of behavior has occurred. She gazed at the driver, hoping for an explanation or an apology. Sadly, his expression remained devoid of any remorse or acknowledgement of the distress he had caused her. His actions left her shaken, questioning his motive behind such a surprising act. That is racism. There is another and very similar incident that happened a couple of weeks ago. That is racism. On 24th October, the city of Folsom passed a resolution downright condemning the horrific act of terrorism against innocent civilians in Israel, without mentioning a single word about the suffering of children of Palestine, and no condemnation to date. That is racism. On 24th November, the first day of hostage release, the Wall Street Journal on its homepage posted chronicles of reunions of each hostage that came back, but not a single picture of a mother or a child who was released from Israel. That is racism. They tell you they are terrorists. Boys as young as 13 years old are terrorists, and we all nod a yes without any evidence. That is racism. President Biden, in the initial days, rightfully condemned Hamas for its crime, but has yet to condemn IDF for their atrocities. That is racism. They tell you these children are human shields, and you all nod a yes without any evidence. That is racism. This is not to say we all have become racist. Those two incidents in Folsom is not a reflection of all of us. Your resolution on 24th October is not a reflection of all of us. President Biden's one-sided statement are not a reflection of all of us. And one-sided coverage of mainstream media is certainly not a reflection of all of us. If anything, it is quite the opposite. A poll conducted by Reuters on November 15th revealed that 68% of Americans, including 75% of Democrats and 50% of Republicans, support a ceasefire. The poll also indicated that only 31% of Americans favor providing more weapons to Israel. So I still believe that this is a great country that values justice for all. As we gather here today, do not forget the essence of the national anthem and the pledge you make to uphold justice for all. The words, land of the free and home of the brave, resonate with the promise of equality and fairness, irrespective of race, religion, or nationality. Your duty as representative of this diverse community is to ensure that these principles are not just words, but the guiding force behind your actions. And with that, I implore you to reflect on the resolution that is at your hand today, which includes the suffering of innocent Palestinians, including children and women. Liberty and justice for all is a call to action, a commitment to stand against injustice wherever it may occur. The Palestinian issue is not an isolated issue. It is a matter that affects humanity as a whole. To turn a blind eye or to say, I don't understand what's happening there, is to neglect our duty as representative of the people. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Let us not be remembered as those who chose silence over justice. History will judge us not just by our achievements, but by our commitments to fairness and equality. Our city deserves leaders who stand for the principle of liberty, justice, and equality. Let us be on the right side of history, knowing that our actions today will shape the future for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next will be Talba Muhammad, followed by Jenna Jarrar, followed by Hafiz Muhammad.
Good evening.
Good evening. I have a list here of statements by Israeli government officials. Number one, we are imposing a complete siege on the city of Gaza. There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we are acting accordingly. This was the Israeli defense minister. Next. Israel has no choice but to render Gaza into a place that is temporarily or permanently unfit for living. One of his assistants, Giora Island. Erase Gaza. Nothing else will satisfy us. Do not leave a child there. Expel anyone who remains there when it ends so that they won't reestablish. All the preoccupation with whether or not there is internet in Gaza shows that we have learned nothing. We are too humane. Burn Gaza now, nothing less. This was a member of the Israeli parliament. And the children in Gaza. The children in Gaza have brought this upon themselves. Another member of the Israeli parliament. It's an entire nation out there that is responsible. This rhetoric about civilians not aware, not involved, it's absolutely not true. This was the Israeli president. We operate in a precise and professional manner, but not surgically. This was a general in the Israeli Air Force. This is not about surgical strikes and military infrastructure anymore. This means that we will obliterate civilian infrastructure as well. Apartment buildings will be toppled. This was an officer in the IDF. The emphasis is on damage and not on accuracy. This was the spokesperson for the IDF. His name is Daniel Hagari. Right. We need to put them, the Palestinians, on boats and send them to wherever will be good for them. They're wanted in Scotland, we'll hand them over.
20 seconds.
All right. I guess all I want to say is, will you let your silence speak for them or for the people in this room? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Jenna Gerard, followed by Hafiz Muhammad, who will be followed by Aisha Muhammad.
Good evening.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jenna, and I'm a 14-year-old Palestinian American. I'm here today to represent one of the many voices of the people of my community. The recent events opened the eyes of the rest of the world to the conflict that has been a part of many Palestinian American lives through the past 75 years. The Palestinians in Gaza have been living under siege for the last 16 years. Their basic life needs, such as food, water, and electricity, are controlled and restricted by Israel. They do not have the same rights as those less than 40 miles away. The people of Gaza have faced 50 days of continuous bombing, which is now on humanitarian pause. When I heard about the exchange of hostages, I was surprised to hear that Israel would be releasing child prisoners. Why are there children in Israeli prisons in the first place? According to Defense of Children International, there are currently around 8,300 Palestinian children in Israeli jails. Over 3,000 of them are being held without charges and without an ongoing legal process. Israeli authorities detain an average of 700 Palestinian children each year. 7,000 Palestinian children have been arrested by Israel since 2015. Israel is the only country to systematically prosecute minors in military courts and accept confessions obtained through coercion. The humanitarian crisis, not just in Gaza, but in all of Palestine, is something that has been going on for the last 75 years. Since October 7th, at least 67 journalists and 20,000 innocent Palestinian civilians have been killed, almost half of whom are children. At least 38,000 are injured, and at least 1.7 million Gazans are displaced. The media has repeatedly broadcast unverified information regarding events on the ground, which were later disproven. I implore you to look at reports from people in Palestine witnessing this firsthand and hold the media accountable. A 14-year-old girl in Gaza should have the same opportunities that I do here, and the ability to worry about mundane, everyday things, rather than whether she will be killed in her sleep by bombs each night. In school, we read The Book Thief, which is about a girl in the Holocaust. The book highlights the importance of our responsibility as a society to speak out against injustice, and yet, decades later, in a situation of violence against a specific ethnic group, there's an overwhelming number of people choosing silence. And for those not taking a stance on this issue, you might be neutral, but your taxes are not. The US government is providing $3.8 billion in military aid annually since 2019 using our tax dollars. I stand with all innocent civilians and call for a ceasefire to stop further loss of human life.
20 seconds.
The United States is a country that stands for human rights to all. Our elected officials need to represent all people. I encourage our city council leaders to get involved, understand both sides of this conflict, and view sources that represent both sides equally. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, we need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. Not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity.
Jenna, your time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next is Hafiz Muhammad, followed by Aisha Muhammad, who will be followed by Annie Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. I am Hafiz Muhammad. I have been living in Folsom from 25 years. I have been president for Muslim community of Folsom for the last 4 years until my term is complete, and currently I'm a trustee at the Muslim community of Folsom MCF. I'm also a board vice president for the Sacramento Valley chapter for Council of American Islamic Relations. I'm here today to urge Folsom City Council to follow the footsteps of the cities which were mentioned by the previous speakers, who passed a resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire and end the genocide for Palestinians. From the past 52 days, you heard the numbers from many of my colleagues, my brothers and sisters. I just want you to imagine that 20,000 is almost 1/4 of the city of the Folsom population. And the numbers about the children which were killed during this genocide since October 7th, the number of children who are killed are more than the children who are killed across the entire world in the global conflicts for the last 4 years. I just want you to imagine these numbers from the bottom of your heart. This is simply not an international issue. It's just the United States is currently funding the genocide, giving the aid to the people to the Israel to continue this genocide. And my tax dollars are being used for this. And So currently, you heard that statements from Brother Talha and all the Israel defense ministers. They are very heartbreaking. I just want to add from the Holy Quran, which says, "Whoever saves a life, it is as though he has saved the life of all the mankind." Imagine the killing of what's happening, not but one, but thousands of individuals, infants, children, women, elderly, who are injured, who have no means of medical care, and who are in the destruction due to the hospitals, interruption during the basic food needs like electricity, water, and food. The dead are being buried in mass graves, and the people who are in a pain are both physical and mental pain, and those who are alive are constant fear. So we have seen all the facts, and we cannot be complicit. We cannot sit just silent, be safe here because we have all kind of resources and peace here. At least as a fellow human beings, as city council members, I kindly request to act to protect the human dignity which can be restored, protected, and respected. Our community always considered Folsom as a safe place to live. Now, because of the city council's one-sided statement, there has been surge in the Islamophobic events, which was mentioned by our previous brothers and sisters. The Council of America CARE reported that incidents have seen 216% increase in requests for help and reported bias incidents from the previous year.
13 seconds.
I would request the City Council to retract the statement given on October 24th and put forth a statement that is fair and acknowledge all the lives which were lost, changing the rhetoric that has encouraged Islamophobia, anti-Muslim sentiment in this town. We want to feel safe here.
Your time is up, sir.
Now
Thank
we
you
are
very
not
much.
safe here. We want to be safe.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Aisha Muhammad, followed by Annie Khan, who'll be followed by Ayan Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Aisha Muhammad, and I am a freshman.
Aisha, can you pull the mic down to you?
And I am a freshman at Folsom High. I have lived here for 14 years. I want to share a poem on Palestine. In the stillness of the night, a heavy heart I bear. Haunted by the trauma, the world seems unaware. They say it's an occupation veiled in genocide's guise. Yet in the shadows, a child dreams to see his mother's eyes. Wishing I could change the narrative for those in Gaza and the agony caused by the relentless trauma. Where do my tax dollars flow? A question with no reprieve. A young soul lost to cold-blooded murder, hard to believe. In a world gone silent, blind to the cries, I stand saying, "Free Palestine," wiping tears from my eyes. Every day feels like a war, innocence put in the grave, a yearning of peace in a place where hatred engraves. How do you justify these deeds, a pain I can't contain? Lives lost like a relentless, recurring refrain. The world seems blinded to the unfolding scenes, yet behind the silence, a truth intervenes. Concrete on a little boy's neck, echoes of injustice repeat. A George Floyd in the making, struggling to breathe. He throws a rock against a tank, a David against Goliath's might. A futile protest, met with deadly, disproportionate fight. Children murdered, innocents slain. In Palestine, echoes of anguish, a haunting refrain. He was shot dead, may peace embrace his soul. Photographs and videos, a painful scroll. Countless bodies, simple mathematics unfold. Families shattered, a narrative untold. Homes razed, dreams left in debris. No shoulder to cry on, not even for a plea. In the midst of this pain, all we can do is pray. Pray for another dawn, a brighter, peaceful day. How do they justify such acts? A question profound. A world gone blind to the cries, to the suffering around. Free Palestine, a plea etched in every line. A call for justice, a plea for the divine. In the face of loss, in the midst of the strife, a collective cry for a bitter, liberated life.
Thank you, Aisha.
Okay, next is Annie Khan, followed by Ayan Khan, followed by Mahad Khan.
Good evening, Annie.
Good evening. One of our congresswomen said recently that the cries of Palestinian and Israeli children sound no different to me. What I don't understand is why the cries of Palestinian children sound different to you. As a physician, I stand before you for the rights of all people. However, we only have to be human to stand for humanity. But as leaders, this is your duty as well. My perspective is that I have the privilege of caring for my patients without worrying about medical equipment, cleanliness, lighting, sedation, or pain medications. I also don't have to worry about being arrested or bombed at the hospital. Sadly, these privileges are denied to my colleagues in Gaza. Women undergoing C-sections have been mentioned. We all know how much it hurts just to get a paper cut. These women are being cut through 7 layers of tissue without any medications. One of the most common complications of childbirth, uncontrolled bleeding, is being managed by removing the uterus because medications are unavailable, stripping women of any future fertility. Children are also being operated on similarly. In fact, a child had all 4 of their limbs removed, amputated without any medications or anesthesia at Al-Shifa Hospital. Children with broken and severed limbs in videos and pictures are not crying. Too in shock, too dehydrated, and too traumatized. As a physician, nothing makes me more nervous than a child who should be crying, but isn't. Additionally, maggots are growing in people's wounds as there is no electricity for ventilation, no medications, lack of clean water because of overcrowding and scattered corpses. White phosphorus, which is banned by international law, is being used on Gaza by Israel. It burns to the bone until deprived of oxygen. Its fragments can reignite when exposed to oxygen even after treatment. After suffering from this and more, imagine having 4 quiet days so you can collect decomposing bodies of babies and scattered limbs, then bracing yourself to be ethnically cleansed. Imagine that those limbs have names written on them to identify who they belong to. Imagine putting the unnamed limbs in body bags marked pieces of unknowns, numbers 34 and 35. And then imagine even those 4 quiet days aren't actually quiet. Snipers are still killing people, and bombs are still being dropped. I carry these thoughts with me while treating my patients, many of whom are Folsom residents. And as a resident of Folsom, these thoughts will guide my decision when voting in the future. Again, as our leaders, you have a duty to stand up for humanity. This means calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire like Detroit. Undoubtedly, the past 52 days will go down in history as a genocide. And if you've ever wondered how you would have reacted had you been witness to the Holocaust, slavery, or the civil rights movement, this is how. Your children and future generations are going to ask you what actions you took to stop the genocide of the Palestinian people. Will you be able to look at them in the eye
5
and
seconds.
respond that you did everything you could?
Thank you, Dr. Khan.
Okay, next is Ayan Khan, followed by Mahad Khan. Ayan Khan, are you here still? Okay, we'll go to the next speaker then.
My brother wants to swap slots with me. Is that okay?
Sure.
Hello, City Council members. In regards to condemning Hamas, I would like to summarize the words of Sana Saeed and Lana Bastazik. When Muslims and other Arabs are asked to condemn the violence against Israeli citizens, they are being asked to qualify their humanity. This is a tool that's been repeatedly weaponized against Arabs and Muslims for decades. There is an underlying assumption and inherent prejudice that is underscored, that if Arabs and Muslims do not condemn violence, they are in favor of it. These demands to condemn also serve to diminish our legitimate concerns in our psychological warfare designed to dominate Muslims and to strip an entire nation of their humanity. Engaging in this rhetoric also places Jewish victims at the forefront of the discussion, creating a hierarchy of grief. Why is there an expectation that Israel attacks post-October 7th need to be contextualized, but not any of the tyranny, massacres, bombing, and imprisonment of innocent children done by an apartheid government verified by the United Nations for the past 75 years? We refuse to accept this debate, as it would mean accepting that powerful Western nations have a right to reciprocate in a way that breaks international law, and that there is good reason for children to be killed. Please recognize that Muslims, just like anyone else with any shred of humanity, hurt for all innocent lives lost. Just as we do not ask those who are white to condemn terrorists such as school shooters, please stop asking Muslims to condemn terrorism. That being said, I also ask the City Council to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire. I'd like to end my time early.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'd like to end my time early.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Praya Praveen. Oh, I'm sorry, you still wanted to speak. I apologize. Come on down, please. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. In this hall 2 weeks ago, Rabbi Yossi Grossham used his time on the podium to ask the Muslim community a few questions. He asked why no one denounced Hamas, why no one brings up the fact that there were no bombs being dropped on October 6th, and why no one denounced the concept of jihad, which he apparently believes is the driving force behind terrorist attacks on innocents in the Muslim world, never mind the countless instances of Western powers creating, arming, training the groups in question. I will not address Mr. Grossbaum's first two questions, as those who spoke before me have already done so. Instead, I will address his question on jihad. I find it curious that Mr. Grossbaum wants us to denounce the very concept of struggle. He appears to be under the mistaken impression that jihad only means violence. I would advise him to consult a Muslim before he passes such comments in the future, as his own research does not appear to have been fruitful. I would like to ask the rabbi why he has not denounced kharam. For those who are unaware, kharam is total genocide and destruction, a concept introduced by his God in the Hebrew Bible, specifically in 1 Samuel chapter 15, in verses 1 through 3. Allow me to read the third verse for everyone to hear, so that no one can claim that I misrepresented them. Now go, and you shall smite Amalek. You shall utterly destroy all that is his, and you shall not have pity on him. And you shall slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. There is an extremely vocal group within Israel's ruling party that considers it their religious duty and the religious duty of the Israeli government to implement this policy, the policy of kharam, on the Palestinian people. Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been Prime Minister of Israel since 2009, openly compared the Palestinians to Amalek when he announced his ground invasion of Gaza. Do you, Rabbi, condemn this and anyone who thinks like him? Jewish extremism has had its grip over Israel for a long time, yet you seem to focus on condemning the reaction to it. If I have the time, I would also like to mention that Mr. Grossbaum apologized to the city council for the fact that this war was taking up their time, claiming that there were more important things on the agenda. I'm not entirely sure what he meant by this. I don't think that any self-proclaimed man of God could stand there and claim that potholes and school construction is more important than a genocide being lent its unyielding support by the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker will be Priya Praveen, followed by Aisha Aslam, followed by Mabuba Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening. He who has let go of hatred, who treats all beings with kindness and compassion, who is always serene, unmoved by pain or pleasure, free of the I and mine, self-controlled, firm, and patient. That is the man I love best. Mr. Chalam Cherla, as a Hindu, I'm sure you know that these words come from the Bhagavad Gita, the sacred scriptures that uphold our religion's beliefs in standing for humanity and protecting life's divinity embedded in us all. And as a fellow Hindu, I'm appalled at your compliance and support of a genocide that counters our religion's focus on peace, as you refuse to support the people of Palestine in their time of crisis. It is written in the Bhagavad Gita that compassion for all living beings is first among the defining traits of devotees. And yet, you, along with your fellow council members, have failed to feel compassion towards the Palestinian citizens who have been suffering under Israel's occupation for decades. Failed to feel compassion for thousands of Palestinians who have been killed following October 7th, and failed to feel compassion for the Palestinian members of the community you stand to represent. I'm sure you're all tired of hearing the same statistics, the same numbers, the same blurred faces of Muslims and Arabs that have been dehumanized and brushed away by Islamophobia. But each number is a name. Children with futures and families with dreams. In the West Bank, where Hamas doesn't even operate, Palestinians are being killed by the IDF, evicted from their homes, and watching as their streets are bulldozed. The headquarters of Fatah, an anti-Hamas group supporting Palestinian liberation, was bombed in the West Bank in an airstrike targeting the Balata refugee camp. And in what world is it okay to bomb an entire hospital in the hopes of exterminating one Hamas member? Israel's attacks are not anti-Hamas, they are anti-Palestinian. The lives of Palestinians are ended before they even experience the life they're given. And when will it stop? You see a crowd before you of all ages. You see children of our community, the same age as those massacred in Palestine, waving flags and standing before you. The youth you see are the future voters who will determine the rightful people of power. As council members, your duty is to represent your community. We voted you in and can vote you out. Yet, you failed to listen to us as we demand for your declaration in support of humanitarian aid to Palestine and a continued ceasefire. I'm neither Muslim nor Arab. I'm just a senior at Folsom High, but I am bound to my Palestinian brothers and sisters by humanity. You've heard it on the news, heard it outside, and within these very walls. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Aisha Aslam, who'll be followed by Mabuba Khan, who'll be followed by Reem Olabi.
Hello. Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members, for allowing me to share my thoughts today. Many of you may be wondering, why is it so important to emphasize what was said in the Declaration? In a diverse and interconnected world, it is crucial for every city in the USA to advocate for a global ceasefire, because in times of conflict, impact reaches far and beyond, affecting the lives of innocent civilians. Just look at what happened this past weekend in Vermont. 3 innocent Palestinian students were shot and wounded. One of them will never be able to walk again because the bullet hit his spine. I watched the interview this morning with his mother. It was heartbreaking. I have 3 children here in Folsom, and with the declaration that was put out, I am worried to let my children walk home. I hope and pray nothing like this happens in Folsom. To be silent now is to be complicit in what more hate crimes are to come. By promoting a universal call for a permanent ceasefire, we emphasize the shared humanity that unites us. And I really hope that my city of Folsom shows up for all those who are suffering. If we can pass a ceasefire resolution today, we would not be alone. We would echo the call to peace as many have already done. We would be joining Detroit, Michigan, Atlanta, Georgia, Richmond, California, Providence, Rhode Island, Carrboro, North Carolina, Wilmington, Delaware, Akron, Ohio, Couday, California, Easton, Pennsylvania, Dearborn, Michigan, Dearborn Heights, Michigan, Ypsilanti, and Oakland, California. We would also be joining 27 members of Congress. I urge members of this city council to send a clear message to the rest of the world. Folsom supports human rights. Please do the bare minimum. Call for a permanent ceasefire. I also urge you to add this item to the top of your agenda. My children have been collecting signatures. I just have a few seconds, so I want to share this with you. My husband and I, the other day, were talking about Seattle, and we were really proud about how their declaration that was sent out. My girls overheard the conversation, how they needed to collect signatures. To my surprise, my daughters came home today with this poster with the names of all the people who would call for a ceasefire, including their 3.5-year-old sister. Alicia, please stand.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, next is Mabuba Khan, followed by Reem Olabi, followed by Dabishi Mady.
Good evening. Good evening and thank you. I'm Mahbooba Khan. I'm a taxpaying citizen of this country and a resident of Folsom for 12 years. We all know that over 20,000 people were killed in Gaza and over 7,000 of them were children. 37,000 are injured. We saw the violence and indiscriminate bombing of civilians in Gaza. We saw the pictures of innocent children blown into pieces by bombs. Now, over 1 million people in Gaza are displaced, all paid for by our tax dollars and by American weapons. But that's not all. Thousands of Palestinian children, men and women, are still in Israeli prison without any charge or trials. Every single day, more children are being kidnapped and taken hostage by Israeli soldiers. They are terrorized, tortured, and beaten. 100%. 87% of the children reported being beaten while they were in the Israeli prison. 100% suffered abuse, humiliation, and trauma. Many of the Palestinians that were released by Israel were young teenage kids. They were captured while they were just a little child, 10, 12 years old, and are imprisoned and were imprisoned for years without any trial. Imagine your child taken away from you. You must have children. Taken away from you forcefully and you didn't get to see them for years. Their childhood was lost in prison without any trial. While the hostages and prisoners are being exchanged, more people are being arrested by IDF without any explanation, even during the 4-day pause. For how long will we allow Israel to play the victim game? When are we going to condemn Israel for war crimes? After Second World War, the world decided never again. But now it seems like it's never enough. Netanyahu can't wait to start the war again. Most of us here today are not even Palestinians. We are here because we care. And all I'm asking today from my council members is to show that you care. To be able to put yourself into the place of Palestinians and empathize with us. Because we are hurting. Your constituent is hurting. We all voted for you, and we all elected you for all of us. And we want to see that you care and that we are not forgotten as a minority. Your silence is painful, and your silence kills.
9 seconds.
We are requesting this council to call for a ceasefire, to end this unjustified war, and call for a release of Palestinian prisoners held without charge in Israeli prisons and open borders for humanitarian aid. Thank you.
Okay, next is Reem Olabi, followed by Debeshi Mehdi, who'll be followed by Farzana Chandri.
I'm going to yield my time. My name is Farzana Chaudhry to Reem.
What, I'm sorry.
I'm going to yield my time so Reem could have it.
Okay, what was your name?
Farzana Chaudhry. I think you called
Okay,
the last
I
one.
did. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening, respected mayor and council members. Being a scientist, this time I wanted to delve into the science of compassion and its impact on the health of individuals and communities. So compassion, according to researchers, is an emotional response to another's suffering characterized by a genuine wish to assist. It differs from empathy by taking a responsive action. To put it in an easy equation, empathy plus action equals compassion. Studies showed how compassion has a positive impact on our health. For instance, it lowers the risk of coronary heart diseases. It makes sense, right? Because when we make more room in our heart for compassion and kindness, there's barely any room for hate and bigotry. And that right there is a happy heart and a healthy heart for sure. Furthermore, studies did show that communities that practice compassion do thrive. Communities that speak out against injustice and oppression prosper, because these communities are formed of members that feel connected to each other, ones that embrace diversity. Compassion gives us the strength to be uncomfortable with not reacting and creates a space for mutual understanding, trust, and eventually transformation. Compassion demands bravery to face the unpleasant truth and alleviate the suffering. It also requires humility from realizing that we're all humans, that are shaped by our circumstances, many of which are unavoidable. Compassion is definitely not continuously adopting a dehumanizing language towards a group of people versus another. Children versus people under 18. Civilians versus collateral damage. Women and children versus human shields. Hostages versus prisoners. Killed versus dead. Attacks versus explosions. And finally, mentally ill versus terrorists. Compassion is challenging as it requires us to revisit our unconscious and implicit biases. Our viewpoint on life does change big time because we realize that we are connected. A world that was once divided by borders is now one. My goal today is to encourage empathy and compassion. I join you in feeling for the innocent hostages and victims of October the 7th, as well as their families, among which many of them, by the way, are against the ongoing violence because they don't see that violence is the path to peace. And I do pray that all of them do go back to their families safely, exactly like I hope for all the thousands of children that are imprisoned, the Palestinian children that are imprisoned, to go back safely to their families as well. And now I would like to invite you to join me to at least acknowledge the suffering of the people in Gaza and the West Bank. This suffering has been going on for years and years. It did not start only after the 7th of October. I'm advocating the compassion and encouraging you to research the atrocities against Palestinians and the public health and medical crisis as reported by many organizations worldwide, including the World Health Organization. I'm asking you to express your compassion by firmly pushing for the preservation of innocent lives. If you honestly believe that every human life is valuable. One thing that can help us be compassionate, and it might be a little bit hard or harsh, is to always remember that we ourselves are mortal, that our day will come one time to leave this life. Only then will we realize that our legacy left behind is our deeds, our kindness, our educational efforts, and the positive fingerprint that we left in life behind. Our money, our personal belongings, the power, the fame, and everything else will be gone. Only the good we have done in our lives will stay behind. This will enable us to live a far better life, one in which we can sleep at night, knowing that we did not contribute to another person's misery. We will sleep soundly, knowing that even if tomorrow is our last day in this world, we made the right choices. I would like to end by a quote by Nelson Mandela. Our human compassion binds us the one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future. Thank you, and may Folsom be known as the compassionate community to which all other communities aspire.
Thank you.
Next is Debashis Mehdi, followed by Rubina Alvi, followed by Yusuf Hussein.
No? Okay.
So next will be Rubina Alvi, followed by Yusuf Hussein.
Good evening. Here we are again. Israel is bombing schools, hospitals, mosques, churches, UN shelters, refugee camps. Hamas is apparently everywhere and nowhere all at once. How many more children must die under the guise of finding Hamas? Let's be clear, this is genocide and a mechanism to steal more land. Plain and simple, make no mistake. This is a plan to eradicate, exterminate, and displace a people to make sure they will never return to their homes. These are war crimes, and this is a humanitarian disaster. The genocide rages on, and we sleep in the comfort of our own homes, in our beds, warm at night. As parents and grandparents in Gaza kiss the lifeless bodies of their children and grandchildren. As a smell of rotting human flesh fills the air among the lingering white phosphorus, as mass graves are dug during the campaign of 1 bomb a minute over the heads of the people of Gaza, as celebrations of released, uncharged, beaten, and abused prisoners are banned by Israel, and even more people are imprisoned en masse in the West Bank. The very least we can do is speak out against tyranny. What are you afraid of? The only one humanitarian crisis is in Gaza and Palestine, not in Israel. Why is calling for an indefinite ceasefire a point of controversy? Why is calling for the cessation of killing innocents controversial? Hate crimes against Muslims, Arabs, and Jews in the United States are on the rise, and a continuing genocide will make no one safer. A little boy is stabbed to death, bright young Palestinian university students are shot point blank,
And here in Folsom, women wearing hijab have been on the receiving end of intimidation tactics and microaggressions. This will only increase. We have the reports of the 2 separate instances of the women who were accelerated on in vehicles is just an example. Folsom needs to be on the record for calling for peace and calling for a ceasefire. The hasty declaration put out by this council on October 24th without consultation with Arab, Palestinian, or Muslim constituents will go down in history as being wrong and incomplete at best. This is a certainty. Words matter, the truth matters, your constituents matter, and Palestinian lives matter just as much as Israeli lives and our lives here. The demonization of an entire people will not stand. Lack of recognition of 75 years of apartheid will not stand. We will not stop until a permanent ceasefire exists. Every day, more congressmen, senators, and city councils of conscience come out in support of a permanent ceasefire.
10 seconds.
And Folsom, being the technological hub and diverse city as that it is, needs to be at the forefront. If you think this is a far away and removed issue,
Time's
you're
up,
wrong.
Rabina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Yusuf Hussein, followed by Rahan Alvi, followed by Marian Hussein.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Yusuf Hussein, and today I'm here to share a story with you. Aouni Dos, a 12-year-old boy who loved gaming, had a YouTube channel to share his videos with the world, having 1,000 subscribers. Aouni was from Gaza. He had dreams and he had a great future waiting. One of his dreams was to have 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And believe it or not, now his channel has 1.4 million subscribers on YouTube. But unfortunately, Aouni was killed before realizing this dream. Aouni is like me and many other American boys. He deserved to live a dignified life. He deserved to grow up loved and cherished among his family. But unfortunately, it happened that he was born in Gaza, where children keep losing their lives, their limbs, their families, and their dreams. That is why a call to ceasefire is important to protect more children from dying. Killing children should stop now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Rahan Alvi, followed by Marian Hussein, followed by Adil Aslam.
Hi, my name is Adil Aslam. I cede my time to Rehan Alvi.
Okay, thank you.
Dear members of the City Council, I stand before you once again as the president of the Muslim community of Folsom. 2 weeks have passed since our last meeting, and the over 200 emails from our community have yet to yield a single real response from this council. The urgency of the situation demands a reconsideration, and tonight I ask you again to align this council with the sentiments of the communities you represent, and I ask you again to support a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. The recent national polls send a resounding message. 68% of voters across all party lines support this ceasefire. This isn't a matter of politics. It's a reflection of our shared values as Americans who champion justice, equality, and the pursuit of lasting peace. Each passing day sees an increasing number of voices in government, members of Congress, senators, and indeed city councils like yours, joining the expanding chorus advocating for a ceasefire in Gaza. But at the same time, my community, deeply affected by this crisis in Palestine, still comes to me and asks, when? When will this council, entrusted to represent us, hear our pain? When will they respond? When will they act? And when will they show they care? So tonight, I'm standing here before you, and I ask you the very same question. When? When did asking you to condemn human rights violations become a matter of complexity? When did asking you to condemn ethnic cleansing require some debate? When did asking you to condemn the collective punishment of an entire people become so difficult for you? So I ask you again, when? When did asking you to condemn the murder of over 6,000 children, and that number has increased now, deserve your absolute silence And that's what we've received, your absolute silence. When did speaking out against genocide transform into an accusation of anti-Semitism? When did you start to believe the rising tide of Islamophobia in Folsom is an issue that doesn't affect the people of Folsom? So I ask you again, when? When did the sense of alienation experienced by our community become something you were so willing to accept? When did the rising number of hate crimes against Muslims and Jews no longer require your advocacy? When did it become acceptable to covertly prepare and release a one-sided declaration without engaging with a community of over 1,000 individuals deeply affected by this issue right here in your backyard? And I ask you, when did you place your political futures above the suffering of your community? When will you listen to us? When will you act? When will you call for a ceasefire? And when do you think your voters will forget your silence? We are watching. Folsom is watching. The world is watching. My dear respected council members, I call on each one of you to support a permanent and immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Not because it will help you win a city council election, not because it will help you win a state assembly election, not because it will help you win a county supervisor election, not because it will make us remember you as those who stood up and helped the Muslim community when we needed your help the most, and not because we are your friendly, loyal, and hardworking neighbors who want nothing but the best for this community. Not for any one of those reasons, but only for one single reason, because calling for a ceasefire in Gaza is absolutely the right thing to do. When will you do the right thing? When? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Marian Hussein, who'll be followed by Mohammed Vora, followed by Chandra Vinakota.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Untrustworthy, violent, terrorists, threatening, undemocratic, narrow-minded, oppressed. In the Western world, encounters with anyone identifying as Muslim often triggers reactions rooted in ongoing stereotypes and biases. Increased awareness, education, and open discussion are important to remove these unnecessary fears. Encouraging understanding conversations can break stereotypes and promote inclusivity. We must acknowledge and understand each other's concerns and fears to thrive as a community. Looking down on or dehumanizing others based on preconceived assumptions only serves to perpetuate the cycle of decisiveness and misunderstanding. Empathy, compassion, and a sincere desire to know the other can break prejudice. Talking to your Muslim neighbor, co-worker, or community member can start this. Only then will you recognize that not everyone should be painted with the same brush, because extremists may be found in any group, not just one religion or race. We share aspirations, joys, and concerns regardless of our differences. Recognizing our common humanity promotes empathy and respect, and fighting ignorance and hate leads to peace. Open communication and equal listening to both sides is important because we all want safety, understanding, dignity, and happiness. This emphasizes the need to recognize that innocent lives are suffering, which cannot be justified. As humane and decent people, we must condemn such violence, but because that level of compassion towards them hasn't been achieved yet, I'm here again to speak about the genocide that is happening in Gaza. I denounce the murders of innocent children who had hopes, dreams, and aspirations just like me. I oppose the humiliation of fathers, sons, uncles, grandfathers, and other innocent men in the West Bank. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Palestinian people who walk miles to find somewhere safe with nothing in their hands but God in their hearts. I'm here to keep urging you to feel for the children killed, the dreams and aspirations shattered, and the homes and memories crushed. Humanitarian perspectives encourage people to listen to voices drowned out by Western media narratives. Looking at Gaza's violence through a human lens shows the longing for peace, security, and dignity. It affirms the right to safety and a violence-free future.
15 seconds, Miriam.
Like Ralph Waldo once said, peace cannot be achieved through violence. It can only be attained through understanding.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you. Peace be upon you.
Thank you.
Next is Mohammed Vora, who will be followed by Chandra Vinakota, who will be followed by Satish Chalangri.
I only see one person. If your name's been called, you can come up to stand on the side. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Muhammad Hassan Vora. I was born in Folsom Mercy Hospital just down the street. I attended Theodore Judah Elementary School just down the street. I attended Sutter Middle School just down the street. I attended Folsom High School just down the street. I graduated from Miraloma High School just down a few streets. I am American by birthright, just like each of you. And I do not say that because I am proud. Trust me, I am not. I say that in hopes that it may legitimize the rest of my speech. I am a Muslim. As Muslims, we call ourselves the Ummah, translated from Arabic, the nation. I believe that word means a lot more, actually. You see, when we enter the fold of Islam, every elder at the mosque becomes uncle or auntie, and every peer becomes brother or sister. I believe this makes us family. I believe this means that my blood runs in them, and their blood runs in me. I am an American by soil. I am not a Palestinian. Yet, I have lost, as of 2 weeks ago, 3,920 mothers, 4,722 fathers, 5,840 little brothers and sisters. I am 18. We sit here today as 80% of Democrats and 55% of Republicans are in support of ceasefire, a bipartisan agreement that has seldom been shown in our 250-year history. Somehow, in this democratically elected republic, we have been shown a Senate and a House where exactly 4% of representatives have advocated for that value. This council released a statement on October 24th, unequivocally condemning the deaths of Israeli civilians, a sentiment which I share, while failing to mention the plight of Palestinians, not only for the last 7 weeks, but for the last 70 years. That is a failure which I condemn. I ask you, why do you not represent us? Why do you fail us? I tell you, you have failed us. And finally, on condemnation. And now I speak to all of my representatives, whether they sit here, whether they sit on the California state legislature, whether they sit in the federal government, and I speak to the United States of America in all of her might and glory.
10
I
seconds.
condemn you for the violence you have perpetrated against Black and brown people since your inception. I condemn you for the ongoing endorsement and practice of terrorism in the Middle East.
Your
I
time is
condemn
up.
you for
Thank
using
you.
my tax dollars
Thank you.
for the spillage
Your
of
time
my
is
blood.
up. Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Chandra Vinakota, who will be followed by Satish Chalingri, followed by...
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor and Council. This is a different aspect happened in Lakeview Oaks community in Folsom. There is a crime and vandalism happened in last 10 days. We want to bring all the facts to you. My friend and neighbor, he will give the facts and I will summarize. Please allow me to do that.
Okay.
My friend,
So what's...
he will give the facts
Okay.
and I will summarize.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Dear Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, thanks for giving an opportunity to speak in front of Council.
I represent a community of 205 families from Lakeview Oaks residential gated community next to Vista del Lago High School in Empire Ranch. And people who are concerned for their safety of their kids, families, and loved ones due to the increase in racism activities in Folsom. There are close to 30 people attending this meeting and 20 more outside of this hall to bring this to your notice. We want to bring to your notice a series of hate crimes happened in our community in recent weeks. We are here to make the case in person on how the community is shaken up with fear for safety and to make sure that adequate steps are being taken as expeditiously as possible. If given a chance, we plan to present this as an agenda topic in upcoming meetings so we can share the disturbing audios and videos, pictures captured by cameras as evidences. So the California Department of Justice defines hate crime as a crime against a person, group, or property motivated by the victim's real or perceived protected social group, and that's exactly what has happened in the recent weeks in our community. Let me get to the facts. On the evening of November 12th, Diwali Eve, as you guys know, an auspicious day for Indian American community, there was a series of hate crimes committed against Indian American community. It appeared to be a well-planned, thought-out, intentional crimes to make a statement on that auspicious day. 3 houses on Townsend Court in Lakeview Oaks community were trespassed and vandalized, incurring in huge damages and unrest. In addition, the perpetrators, while driving, yelled profane language and racial slurs that included threats to lives of the people. People who witnessed the slurs in person were in shock and alarm. Due to the level of atrocities committed, some of us stayed away from our own homes and spent nights at our friends' homes the following days. A week later, November 20th, there was a fire started inside of a home owned by an Indian American family in the same community, just in a week. Thankfully, the fire department staff reached in time to contain the fire. We are aware the Folsom PD is investigating, but in the meantime, we feel unsafe living in the community. In fact, we feel unsafe living in the city of Folsom, not just because of vandalism, but since these are a targeted hate crime against a certain community. We are extremely concerned for the safety of our kids, elders, families, and loved ones. Some of our family members out of state refused to join us for holidays as they were concerned with safety of their own. It's pathetic. We are coming to you for your support and your help in increasing security measures and ensuring adequate resources are provided to find the perpetrators, thereby sending a strong and unified message that we will not tolerate hate crimes in the city. We want the Folsom City to be a place where we can feel safe and at home. We ask your support to make this happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Give it to Chandra.
Thank you very much, council members. We feel unsafe because it does not feel like a coincidence that multiple homes in the same community were targeted and there were racial epithets that were used. We want the city that we live in to take a stand and show that they value as residents, as community members, and they will protect our families and children. Introducing and passing a resolution that shows that hate will not be tolerated will send a strong message to those that want to make us feel like we are other and not equal, valued residents of our city. We appreciate you all treating these incidents at Townsend Court and Ritchie Street as if it happened to your own home and family. We hope that you will treat it with the same respect and urgency that you would want to see others to act it if you did not feel safe. If you don't take immediate action on these events, Folsom will lose the name of one of the safest cities in the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next speaker is Mac, followed by Miria, followed by Sam Akkad.
No? Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Good to see you all again. I have concerns, obviously, as does the rest of the community. We've been here 2 times in a row. And we would hope coming here that there would be open ears, open hearts, and open minds to what is being said and hear from the community. It feels like we're not being seen, we're being seen through. We're not being heard, we're being tuned out. And that we're not being acknowledged. There's no humanity up in this council. It feels so sad that we're here 2 times in a row just to ask to be acknowledged as human beings. Are we not? Do we not bleed the same? breathe the same, eat the same, drink the same? Or are we subpar? Are we lower class? Are we not even humans at all? According to Israel, we're animals. Are we animals? Because if we are, it makes sense why you didn't acknowledge any Palestinians in your declaration, why you did not consult with the Muslim community. It saddens me that we have to keep coming like this. And I understand you're frustrated. We're taking up the time. We're extending the meeting longer than it should be. You're frustrated that we're occupying the time. How would you feel if people occupied your land? You're frustrated over time? What if people occupied the land, the air, the sea, the borders, everything of your entire life? And you're just a little upset because we're here for 3 hours? Because we have to sit here and continuously bring justification, bring facts, bring stories to feel heard and seen. Again, are you tuning us out? Are you seeing through us? Because that's what it feels like. I've been sitting here watching these people plead and plead and plead to be acknowledged. What will it take to be acknowledged by this city council? Lastly, Mayor Rodriguez, you seem like a just, kind person. And when you had other public speakers up here today, they went over their time. You did not signal a time limit. And I understand there's a lot of speakers. But when you're cutting them off and you're not allowing them to speak the full time and you're doing these time limits and you're doing it for our group, but not for others, it feels unfair.
That is not true. I actually hold people to the 3 minutes.
The three people
Sometimes they go up a little bit above, but there were 3 that gave their time up for another person. So
No, I'm talking about the 3 that came to talk about the schools and the high schools that are being proposed.
They were given 3 minutes. They had
No,
3.
but they went over. And you did not say 10 seconds, 15 seconds, Mayor. We can replay the tapes later and audit it, but I'm not here to attack or anything. I want to point that out because it feels unfair. And if you're being unfair on that, then it makes sense why it's been unfair for the last month from the city council. Is this not a progressive city? Are we not a progressive city? Or are we falling behind? Oakland, San Francisco, so many cities are passing resolutions, but we want to stay behind and not be progressive? That's a shame on the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
And
Next
I
is
will go back and check the time because I'm really good about it. I try to be really good about the 3-minute time limit.
Next is Miria, followed by Sam Akkad, followed by Abhinav Reddy. Did Miria leave? Are we sure? Not out in the hallway? Okay. Next will be Sam Akkad, followed by Abhinav Reddy. Neither of those speakers? Okay. We'll move on then to Mahiba Kandakar, and then followed by Ali Nazir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Folsom City Council, for allowing me to speak here today. My name is Mahiba Kandakar, and I'm a junior at Vista Del Lago High School. I'm here to tell you about October 19th, the day that the Muslim Student Association and the Jewish Heritage Club worked together to create a booth on the Vista Del Lago campus, 5 days before this council passed the resolution on October 24th. We had 12 days after October 7th to work not only with teachers, but to work with students and to work with officers of both clubs. We both were able to come together, both teams, and talk about the facts and the statistics about Palestinians and Israelis. We didn't leave anyone out. And yet, the resolution that you passed 5 days after ours did not mention the Palestinians at all. And you can imagine the fear, the anxiety, and the thoughts that we went through as high schoolers to come up with this booth, to know that people would look at us and they would walk away, to know that people would not listen, to know that our campus may not have respected us, and yet we still did that. Yet this council was unable to do so. This is not about hatred in any way. When we talk about an immediate ceasefire, when we talk about what Israel has done to Palestinians for the last 75 years. This is not about anti-Semitism, and you cannot hide behind that rhetoric. This is about humanity. This is about the women, this is about the children, this is about the innocent civilians that you have denied in your resolution. Please pass the resolution that is in between your hands today. I want you to think about the children who are not writing their names upon papers in fear of losing it, but they're writing their names upon their arms in fear of losing their life. I don't know if you can imagine what that feels like. I'm here today to show you that the youth, that the people that voted you in, they are not going to stop speaking out about this. This whole community can work together. And to say that we're being anti-Semitic or that we're being biased is untrue. The fact that your resolution did not talk about the Palestinians is biased. Please pass an immediate ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Ali Nazir, followed by Zara Fatima, followed by Omar Al-Tamimi.
Good evening.
Good evening. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most compassionate, like my sister said here, the most compassionate. Good evening, my dear and honorable city council members. I stand before you as a Folsom resident, and I appreciate all of you, first of all. I mean, you can see the anger, you can hear it, you can feel it, but I hope it tells you that the community is bleeding. It is coming from our heart. It's not directed against any of you here. But we want you to understand that here are people who are literally, there are families who have their own loved ones, and hope you will understand that. Many things have been said, but I want to tell you that today marks the 52nd day of this atrocious incident in Gaza that has affected human beings. I'm not talking about Palestinians. I am not talking about Israelis. I am talking about human beings here. But what really is heartbreaking is that out of all that data that we heard over here, 20,000, maybe more, and this, by the way, does include both Palestinians and Israelis, almost 67% of these are women and children. This is a fight on children. This is a fight on women who are being wiped out. This roughly makes up almost 13,000 people. This includes 6,000 Palestinian children. But I will not go into those things of whose fault is this, what's going on. But I just want to ask us to, in the fog of all of this, think about two things. There are innocent people who are being killed. There are hospitals which are being bombed. And I want to ask us, does it directly affect Folsom? That's your question, right? Probably not. If I ask it, no. It's not your children. It is not my children. But think about it for a second. What if it is your child over there? Just think about it. I want to think about my 3-year-old daughter, my 4-year-old daughter, my 14-year-old daughter. If I think, I can't even start thinking about those things. That what is happening to those people over there. And do we say, and then somebody in Folsom community, the good Folsom community, they say, oh, we are neutral on this thing? How would you feel if somebody says that I'm neutral on your case? I don't care about your kids. If you are neutral in injustice, you have chosen the side of oppressors, unquote, by Archbishop
20 seconds.
T2. I want you to also think about Folsom taxpayers shouldn't be funding weapons for war when that money could be used for problems within the city. Like for schools, for all those homeless things that we were talking about. We could use that money. I want to thank you all for this. I want you to please consider this,
Time's
all
up.
of us.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Zara Fatima, followed by Omar Al-Tamimi, followed by Abdullahim Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, members of City Council and community members. My name is Zahra Fatima, and I am an 8th grade student of Folsom. I stand here before you today because I believe it is necessary for us to fully acknowledge our responsibility in creating a better world. I believe in the values that make our community strong: inclusivity, kindness, and understanding. From our early years, we are taught about how important it is to embrace everyone, no matter what the differences are. We accept and celebrate diversity, and that's what makes our community special. I wear a hijab, which isn't just a piece of clothing, but a part of who I am, part of my identity. It is a symbol of my faith, and it reminds me to be kind and inclusive, to treat everyone, no matter where they are from, what they look like, or what they believe in. But inclusivity isn't just about our surroundings. It goes beyond our borders to the world outside. As we celebrate our commitment to inclusivity, we must stand in resolve with those who are suffering. The widespread destruction and loss of innocent lives in Gaza calls for our attention, urging us to take action. The plight of the children in Gaza facing unimaginable losses cannot be ignored. A 4-year-old child lost his parents in the bombing, and both of his legs were amputated. Yet every day he asks, "Where is my father? Where is my mother?" Every single day. A 4-year-old child who may never be able to walk again, left to suffer from the loss of his parents, and to know that anyone would even think of hurting such children and families. Are they not normal people like you and me? Do they not deserve to live the life that we live? It is painful to witness families suffering, children orphaned, and see their lives changing before our very eyes. What have these people done to deserve such pain? It's heartbreaking to think that children, even those younger than me, are enduring such pain. I stand before you, urging the City Council to announce your commitment to promoting an inclusive, safe environment for all, including the Palestinians. Let us extend this commitment beyond the borders of our city. I urge the passing of a resolution condemning the mass slaughter in Palestine and a call for an immediate ceasefire. Even if we are a small city, a small community, I believe we can make a difference. Together, by taking this step, we will show that we stand united against injustice, paving our way for a more compassionate world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Omar Al-Tamimi, followed by Abdullah Halim Khan, followed by Jackson Yoser.
Good evening, Omar.
Good evening. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for your time. My name is Omar Al-Tamimi. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Coordinator for the Council of American Islamic Relations, based out of Sacramento Valley in Central California. We cover everything north of Sacramento and all the way down up until right about Bakersfield, excluding the Bay Area. I want to start with our ask, and I tether high, but it is for a declaration calling for the immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The reason for that is the Israeli military has already promised that after this, temporary pause, this temporary ceasefire, for 2 months they will continue fighting. The outrage is very real, and also considering that in the past 2 months, over 15,000 civilians have been killed, and the Israeli military itself acknowledges less than 100 were actually affiliated with Hamas. The civilian cost of life is untenable. It happens overseas, but why it impacts us here is very real, and I think we had a reminder of that this past weekend with the 3 young men two of whom were shot in Vermont. Islamophobia across the United States has increased tremendously, over 300% these past few months. We've received over 1,250 intakes reporting hate incidents across the nation. Close to 300 of these actually happened within California, and in our region we have about half of those. Close to 150 from Sacramento to the Central Valley region as well. Most recently, even today in Sacramento State, there was an incident where someone was actually using hate speech towards protesters. So it affects us here. The reason we come to City Council, the reason we ask you to stand with us is because it does signal, and it is very important that City Councils take a stand on this, because it does signal to higher office. We were able to meet with Congresswoman Doris Mitsui's office, Congressman Ami Bera's office in the past week, and within 2 hours, both offices released statements calling for ceasefire, and actually Bera's office doubled down earlier this morning in our meeting and is willing to ask for a permanent ceasefire in the region. The pressure that city governments provide is important, and it isn't lost. Obviously, to feel recognized, to feel even an ounce of representation from our city governments, would be to acknowledge both sides. And I think that's what was missing in the earlier declaration. And we'd love to see that revised, and also to include even just the name Palestinian or the name Gaza goes such a far way and a long way. And so that is the ask. And finally, to say that everything that we've been doing for the past few months has been in response to October 7th, but it's important to respond to the atrocities of October 8th, October 9th, October 10th, up till November 28th, where we still see them.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, next will be Abdullah Halim Khan, followed by Jackson Yoser, followed by Amoraya Perez.
Hello, Mayor, Council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Abdul Halim Khan. I'm a physician. I live in Folsom. I love Folsom. I'm here calling for the Council to pass a resolution calling for the cessation of all atrocities by Israel and a permanent ceasefire. And this is by no way an ambitious call. This is a very basic call to the Council. Wanted to say I love the city of Folsom, proud of our city. I appreciate and congratulate you on keeping our city clean, safe, and beautiful, and everything else that you do to improve the city. At least until recently, I was really proud of Folsom. So recalling the resolution, the unilateral resolution passed on 10/24 without consideration of so many of your constituents, it makes me question my feelings about Folsom. I'm here in good faith and give the city and you the benefit of doubt. And maybe you didn't have enough information. Maybe whatever the case may have been, I want to give the benefit of doubt. And I hope that that poorly calculated one-sided resolution on 10/24 will be addressed. I do not want to believe that I or the people here or all the people that calls for this cause, this worthy cause, are less worthy constituents to you. I really want to believe that I'm worthy to you. This issue is not complicated. The killing of October 7 is abhorrent. We condemn it. The genocide in Gaza is abhorrent. This is not complicated. I'm here to affirm Folsom says no to hate and racism, no to genocide in Palestine and Gaza, no to killing innocent non-combatants, women, elderly, and children, innocent children, no to the shutdown of water, food, medicines, and more. I implore on my council to be on the right side of history. Urgently call a permanent ceasefire, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next speaker will be Jackson Yoser, followed by Amoraya Perez, followed by Ashraf Abdulli.
Good evening, Jackson.
Good evening. Shabab, assalamu alaikum. I was told that more non-Arabs were wanted at this meeting. I'm not sure why the voices of your black and brown constituents weren't worth listening to the first time, but if you really need some queer white person to explain to you why racism and genocide are bad, here I am. In a recent conversation with a community member, the vice mayor said, if Muslims or Hindus have any issues within our city, I will be fully behind us, but it's best not to get into international affairs in which the city has hardly any say. What a fascinating display of hypocrisy, considering you had absolutely no problem passing a declaration in October that began by unequivocally condemning the recent horrific acts of terrorism against Israeli civilians. Does the city only have a say when the people that you're grieving for are white? Your declaration ends by reaffirming your commitment to promoting an inclusive, safe environment where all people can live in harmony, respect, and understanding. Surely by now, you have seen the news of the 3 young Palestinian men in Vermont that were shot by a white supremacist. Now, alhamdulillah, they all survived and are recovering, but we must acknowledge that Senator Sanders' repeated defense of Israel and refusal to support a ceasefire cultivated an environment where violent racists felt emboldened enough to open fire on unarmed Palestinian Americans. Look at your constituents that are here tonight. Are you willing to do nothing, or worse yet, Actively continue to support Israel's genocidal campaign in Gaza and throughout Palestine while people are foaming at the mouth to target your Palestinian, Muslim, Jewish, and black and brown Christians for harassment, hate crimes, and murder. Listen, no one in this room is demanding that you support a ceasefire because we're expecting you to snap your fingers and liberate Palestine. We know that that power lies with Congress and the president. We are demanding that you support a ceasefire because saying we want genocide to end and we think you should too should not be this difficult. Because you have the power as elected representatives to say without reservation that Folsom's 80,000 residents stand against genocide. Because a growing number of cities across the country have acknowledged that while they may not be able to directly change foreign policy, they know that they can nevertheless influence the leaders of this country and the world. As Americans, we often don't view ourselves as being a party to international conflicts, especially not as victims. It must be incredible to get to decide when you care about international affairs or not. If only Palestinians had that luxury to not care, to not speak up, to not inherently have their entire existence politicized and debated from birth. I just want to say to all the kids who are still here and who have left already, you guys are incredible. I'm a substitute teacher. You guys make my job worth doing every single day. You're here at 9 o'clock on a school night.
Thank you very much. Your time is up, Jackson. Thank you, Jackson. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Amaraya Perez, who will be followed by Ashraf Abduwali, who will be followed by Fatima Rashid, sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Amaria Perez, and I've worked in education and childcare for over 7 years. So today I'll be reading an abridged version of a piece by Elena Duran in honor of the 6,000 plus children that have been murdered in occupied Palestine. I saw a dead baby from Gaza today while I was sitting on the toilet. When a colleague sees me later and asks me how I am, I'll tell her I'm fine and I'll smile. But I saw a dead baby. I saw a dead baby, I saw a dead baby, I saw a dead baby. I'll have to say it out loud for fear that if I don't, he'll be buried inside me forever. What? She'll ask. A baby, I'll say. A dead one. I saw him while I was peeing. He was so tiny. He had 10 tiny fingers and 10 tiny toes, but no eyes and no nose, no face at all, really. Where his little mouth and eyes and nose should have been, there was only blood. Oh my God, she'll say. That's why I can't look at the news. It's just too disturbing. But me, I can't look away. And now they want me to go back to work and pay my taxes so that more and more blood will be on my hands. But don't worry, it'll be on yours too. How is it that we're checking the news and shaking our heads saying, what a shame, and continuing on with our silly, meaningless days while the world is ending for someone just like us? I saw a dead baby today, and it is the least I could do to not look away, to bear witness to unspeakable pain. I will never know his name, but I will mourn him all the same.
Thank you.
Next speaker will be Ashraf Abduwali, followed by Fatima Rashid, followed by Hadi Feroz. Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council member and Mayor.
Good evening.
Leadership. Remember, that's what we talked about last time. We didn't start that. You started with the declaration on October 24th, with condemning one side and one side only. So guess what? We will not be silent. We cannot be silent. Facts matter. I will share one fact. Since the inception of United Nations for Human Rights Council in 2006, it has issued almost as many resolutions condemning Israel alone than all other resolutions for the rest of the world. That is fact. That is the fact that is the same country you sided with on your declaration on October 24th. So check facts before you issue a declaration. Since the last 2 weeks, we have been emailing you, you have been doing nothing, over 3,000 people died. You know why these people are boiling the room? Because over 3,000 people died. That's at 215 people every day. You know why we are asking for ceasefire? Because it's impacting us here. How? It's impacting the Islamophobia. It's impacting the anti-Muslim movement. It's impacting the 3 students that were shot in Vermont. What are you waiting for? For that to happen in the street of Folsom? Will that be on your hand if that incident happened here in Folsom? Why is it so difficult to condemn and state that we need a ceasefire that will signal the support of the Muslim community? Why is it? Is it because the Muslim life doesn't really matter? Or what's so difficult about it? I ask you that question. What is so difficult about it? We have been asking for 2 weeks. We have been emailing and no answer. Rest assured, our over 1,000 voters will not forget the stance. And we ask you to give us a response. We will not give up. I ask you to pass a declaration in your hand, to get it on the agenda for next meeting, and please pass this declaration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next will be Fatima Rashid, followed by Hadi Feroz, followed by Luma Dalbaka.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Fatima Rashid, and I am here once again to speak in favor of the resolution for a ceasefire in Palestine. Last time, I talked about my experience as well as many other Muslim and Arab kids' experiences here in Folsom since October the 7th, and the war on misinformation. Today, I would like to reiterate that part and focus on what is happening right now in Palestine as we speak. There's a temporary ceasefire in place right now as Hamas and Israel exchange hostages, and I intentionally use the word hostages for both sides, almost all of whom are women and children. However, I would just like to take a moment to point out how our media is covering it. The Guardian, when covering the hostage exchange, said that Israeli women and children taken hostage by Hamas were exchanged for Palestinian females and people under the age of 18, not women and children. Even in this simple sentence, they have to degrade the Palestinians. They also made sure to specify that these females and people under the age of 18 were prisoners. No, they are not prisoners. Of the 300 people Israel proposed for potential release, 233 of them had not even been convicted of any crimes. Last week, Israel agreed to releasing 150 hostages. However, since Friday, they have already detained 168 new Palestinians from the West Bank in the same manner, without charges or a trial. These are the things that we do not learn from the mainstream media. These are the lives that are lost without us here in the West even batting an eye. Not that we, the people, don't care. No, I think I speak for everyone here in this room when I say that this war has affected all of us mentally and emotionally, so much so that we cannot keep silent and just watch as these injustices are committed. Did you know that a child in Palestine can face upwards of 9 to 20 years in prison and solitary confinement, as well as intense beatings for throwing a stone at a tank? Here in America, child molesters and drug dealers face charges of less. So no, they're not prisoners. If you ask these prisoners, they will not even know what they were charged with. Yet no one covers this. No, all the attention is on the poor Israeli women and children taken hostage, who themselves in multiple interviews admit that they were treated with respect and well cared for. I wish I could say the same for the Palestinian hostages. So the rhetoric used to describe these hostages and innocent people matter. The media matters. Us proposing and passing this resolution matters so that awareness can be raised and people can educate themselves. Already, many other city councils in America have passed similar resolutions. Just yesterday, the Oakland City Council unanimously passed a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire. So don't wait. Act now. Look into your hearts and find the space for the children of Palestine.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Hadi Feroz, will be followed by Luma Dalbaka, followed by Nika Dalbaka.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Folsom City Council, Madam Mayor, I'm Hadi Feroz, one of the physicians here in Folsom, living here for the past 10 years or so. I spoke last time also, and we will continue doing this until we get a positive response from you. In the next 3 minutes, I'll aim to articulate the importance and urgency of our City Council to leverage its influence to demand permanent ceasefire and an end to this baseless slaughter of innocent lives in Gaza. As you know, the current situation in Gaza is the worst humanitarian catastrophe and genocide in modern times under our own eyes. Right now, we're living through it. We cannot just simply be silent and be a passive spectator of this relentless genocide. You will look back 10 years from now and you will look at this point and you will tell your children and grandchildren which side you stood. So it's really a turning point in history. Like many other cities in the United States, a bunch of them were mentioned earlier, you can be on the right side of history in support of justice for all, not just justice for certain population. Through your platform in this honorable council, you have the opportunity to make the necessary, powerful, and morally grounded statement formally demanding a permanent ceasefire. As you hurriedly issued a declaration in support of Israeli civilians on October 24th, in response to the killing of 1,200 Israeli civilians, we here now demand a declaration in support of innocent Palestinian civilians of almost 20,000 that have been killed since the start of this genocide. And we formally ask you to demand a ceasefire and also ask for stopping using our tax money to fund this massacre. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is Luma Dalbaka, followed by Nikki Dalbaka, followed by Nazra Khan.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'd like to yield my time today to my sister-in-law. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Before I begin, I want to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for taking this time to listen to my perspective. And I want to thank all of you wonderful people for showing up to have your voices heard, and share with you that this coming June, Barbara Lee is running for the Senate for California against Katie Porter and Adam Schiff.
Can you actually speak to the mic, please?
Yeah, this is an opportunity to address the council.
Okay. Look her up. Okay, with that said, as a Jewish girl growing up, I learned in Hebrew school that the Jewish faith is not meant to be blind. It's meant to be inquisitive. We were taught to always ask questions and to form our own opinions of right and wrong. In 1948, on the heels of the horrors of the Holocaust, a group of Jewish settlers descended onto Palestine, slaughtering thousands of innocent civilians, burning their towns, and perpetuating the cycle of violence and trauma that they had only recently escaped. From the smoldering ashes they left in their wake, the state of Israel was born. They claim to represent Jewish people everywhere, but I'm here to tell you they do not speak in my name. Imagine my shock and disgust when I saw Israeli propaganda posted to Twitter depicting Palestinians as rats that needed to be crushed, literally dehumanizing them in the exact same way that Nazi Germany dehumanized the Jews. At this point, you may be thinking that I, as an American Jew, cannot speak for the people of Israel. So I ask you to consider the perspective of Israelis we don't often hear from. A dear friend of mine is Israeli. She told me years ago that human rights organizations in Israel and the United Nations had declared the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories apartheid, a deeply discriminatory system not seen since pre-Mandela South Africa. She firmly agreed with their assessment. Sharing horrendous actions perpetuated by the State of Israel, including an official policy of the Israeli government that any Palestinian child that simply throws a single stone in the direction of an Israeli soldier has their entire home bulldozed. It would be bad enough if these were single-family homes, but these are often multi-generational, multi-family apartment dwellings that are reduced to rubble to punish the barely perceptible act of resistance perpetrated by one small child. For what it's worth, this official policy predates Hamas's October 7th attack by over a decade. When speaking with her recently, she said, "Nowadays, the Israeli government officials are a bunch of regressive, generally corrupt people, and I wouldn't count on them for anything." As the former chair of the Seattle Human Rights Commission, I was honored to have Shula Koenig as a mentor. Shula was one of only 6 Americans to ever win the United Nations Human Rights Award, sharing this acclaim with the likes of Martin Luther King Jr., Jimmy Carter, and Eleanor Roosevelt. Shula famously said that a real democracy must be a delivery system of human rights to all of its people. Born in Jerusalem in 1930, Shula was an activist and fierce defender of the human rights of Palestinians, which led to her immigration to the United States in the 1960s. Even in Israel today, many Israelis blame their government for the October 7th Hamas attacks. Just over a week ago, relatives and friends of the Israeli hostages marched on foot from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, camping along the way to demand an end to their military's invasion of and assault on Gaza, which has already claimed the lives of some of their dearly beloved. The marchers were joined by thousands of Israeli protesters, vociferously supporting their desperate calls to action. When Miki Zohar, a member of Netanyahu's Likud party, showed up, he was met by jeers, with the crowd yelling, "Shame, shame, shame," and "Take responsibility." This begs the question, if the Israeli people don't support the actions of their own government, why should we?
You have 20 seconds.
Here tonight, I'm reminded of Eleanor Roosevelt's famous question and proclamation, where, after all, do universal human rights begin? They begin in small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. In that spirit, I ask, as a Jew, a true believer in democracy and a current resident of
Your
Folsom,
time is up, Nika.
that in this
Thank
small
you.
place here
Thank you,
tonight, we
Nika.
call for an
Your time
immediate
is up.
ceasefire.
Thank you.
Next speaker will be Nazra Khan, who will be followed by Uzair Ahmad, who will be followed by Jason Davis.
I must be writing my name wrong.
I'm sorry.
Here we are again, 2 weeks later. I'm not going to rehash all the numbers again. Everybody went through that multiple times. I just want you to understand that why we are here repeatedly, and we will be here again and again and again until you acknowledge us and empathize with us and recognize us and listen to us. Call for a ceasefire, which means both sides, yes, both sides needs to stop the killing. Return of the hostages, we want all the grandmas, all the kids, all the women, all families united, reunited, and also for humanitarian aid to go in. Just to give you one fact, in 1 month prior to October 7th, 10,000 truckloads of humanitarian aid, normal times, would flow into Gaza, okay? 7 weeks, it's been 2,000 truckloads only. 2,000 only, including the 4 days of humanitarian aid. So you guys need to understand the extent of the need there is, right? We've heard all about anesthesia and all of that. There's much more. Winter is coming. They don't have homes. 70% of Gazans are displaced. That's 1.7 million people. So the agriculture minister, who's also a security cabinet minister of Israel, has already met 2 of his conditions. He had 2 agenda items. Number 1 he said we'll do a Nakba 2.0. So Nakba number 1, 1.0, 1948, 800,000 Palestinians displaced from their homes. 2023, 1.7 million Gazans displaced from their homes. These are people out of their homes. Again, I don't have to repeat it. 80% of them, women, children, and elderly, physically disabled, multitude of issues. Even before Hamas came into power in 2005, 80% of Gazans had extreme PTSD because they lived through an occupation. Okay, so we want some empathy from you. When we talk about Palestine, we talk about Gaza and we talk about the occupied Palestinian territories. What does the mean occupied mean to you? It means Palestinians are under a brutal military occupation that none of us can imagine. We cannot imagine. We fight within ourselves how much money, 2/3 of the money should go into, because Folsom taxpayers are paying for it. We got to get our schools. Our high school needs to be in Folsom, not in Rancho Cordova. So why are we giving away millions of dollars for bombing other people? Use it for our own homes. So please, please, call for ceasefire, humanitarian aid, show empathy.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Uzair Ahmed, who'll be followed by Jason Davis.
Good evening.
In a far-off land of sun and sand, children play hand in hand, but there's a wish we need to share for peace to bloom in the Palestinian air. No more noise of fighting roars, just laughter like never before. Kids dream of a world so free, in a place where peace should be. Leaders, please let's make it right. Hold hands, end the noisy fight. For every child, a happy space. Bring a smile to every face.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Jason Davis.
Good evening, Jason.
Wow. Thank you for your time. I have 2 issues I would like to share. Firstly, I'd like to inquire about the inclusion of a follow-up discussion on the City Council's agenda regarding the insightful presentation made on October 10th concerning our homeless citizens. It is crucial that we continue this dialogue to address the pressing issues facing our community. Can we expect to see this vital discussion in the near future? Maybe this year? Or are we going to keep waiting and go to 2024? Moreover, as I've mentioned in the past, I propose the development of a homelessness management plan centrally coordinated and overseen by a dedicated city employee. Such a plan, driven by a singular focus, would streamline our efforts and better address the needs of our unhoused residents. Shifting focus. I want to express my empathy for the challenges you, as city council members, face. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has far-reaching effects, impacting members of our community deeply. Pretty obvious. I urge the city council to consider crafting, I should say recrafting, an all-inclusive declaration, a testament to our commitment to acknowledging and understanding the varied perspectives and emotions within our city. Lots have changed since you wrote the original declaration. Recognizing the complexity of this issue, I also recommend reaching out in person to communities directly impacted. They should not have to wait and bug you guys as much as they've been bugging you. Fostering a sense of unity and understanding is the goal. By doing so, we not only acknowledge the diversity within our city, but also strengthen the bonds that hold us together. Let us move forward with a commitment to inclusivity, compassionate governance, and proactive measures to address the challenges that touch the lives of our fellow citizens. I've added a lot of notes since I've been sitting back there, you guys. I mean, let me tell you, I know how the city council handled Black Lives Matter. It took how many protests to get our mayor to actually go out and start chanting Black Lives Matter. I know how the city council and the city has handled our unhoused population. You guys, you're doing the same thing. This is really important stuff. You're politicians, do what's right. We've had so many discussions about this type of stuff. I mean, it's totally frustrating to hear this. Can you believe that there's apartheid in 2023? Oppression?
10
discrimination? We're talking like Jim Crow type stuff, you guys. Let's not do that here in the city of Folsom.
Thank you, Jason.
You have no further requests to speak under business from the floor tonight.
Oh, there seems to be one more.
I'm sorry, I didn't have any more cards. Come on down. I just meant I didn't apologize for not calling you. I didn't know.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. For past 2 weeks, actually more than 2 weeks, I've been hearing a lot of people making, they're pleading to you to hear them out. What I have seen, you guys are very attentive, as if you're listening to them, right? You're very attentive. I have been watching you guys. If we were talking to human beings, if, the new scientific research is, if you talk to your tree, you talk to a plant nicely, right? Their emotions, they come out and they prosper. What I have seen from you, no action. And that frustrates me. Just think about it. We are talking about human crisis. We are talking as a human being, and you are a human being too. Aren't you not? Aren't you? What action are you taking? You are polarizing the society, the Folsom city, just taking a stand, which is not right. We want you to be fair. We may not have enough votes to vote you out, but believe me, as a human being, we will not appreciate this. Thank you.
Sir, just for the record, can you tell us your name?
I'm Nadeem Mohammed. I have been a resident of Folsom for 22 years.
Thank you.
I have been offering my help to not most, they're not here anymore, but some of you, I have offered my help.
Thank you.
Because I believe in a society which is inclusive. Thank you.
And just so that you know, just because you may not see something happen doesn't mean that something is not happening. So just want to let you know. Thank you.
Okay, now I believe you have no further requests to speak under business from the floor.
All right, so will the clerk please call the next item?
Okay, your next item is council requests for future items.
I have just one. I'd like to revisit the discussion, just very briefly, the discussion we had about the staff bringing us potential language for a sales tax measure. And I think one thing that would greatly inform the likely success of that language is refreshing the polling that was done 2 years ago. So I'd like to, if we need to, bring that back for discussion to give the staff and the city manager authorization to do new polling or refresh the old polling, unless that's something we can grant this evening.
Okay, reasonable consensus on that?
Okay, that sounds, fine with me. Yeah, okay.
You gotta-
Madam Mayor, are you looking at me for a response?
I am.
Agenda items are prepared by the council and the city manager.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, well, I can't make a decision about that right now, but are there any other items that
I
somebody
do.
would like?
So Jason Davis brought up the further discussion of our homeless discussion on October 10th. I've brought it up a couple more times, so I want to make sure that that is on the most recent agenda that we can get it on. And I didn't see that on the 1st January agenda, so I want to make sure that does get on there. I don't think waiting any longer is appropriate. As we see tonight and in other instances, especially on October 10th, our people really want to be heard. And the homeless issue is not something that's going to go away. The increased crime, it's not just the homeless, it's increased crime. So I want to see that happen. The other thing I've asked for throughout the year is it was going to be put on the agenda for action steps for our strategic plan, and I haven't seen that yet. A discussion on our unfunded liabilities and our responsibility in that and the numbers related to that, and I have not seen that yet. Also, an action plan or a vision for a community development department. What are we going to do about decreasing our permitting time, that kind of thing, and I have not seen that yet. So while those three things are also important, the homeless discussion is very important, and just to address, it was just addressed a little bit, but any kind of action has to be on the agenda first. It has to be noticed. So you will not see an action tonight, but I think, at least I want to say, and this would be kind of council comments, but I'll just actually wait till council comments.
Okay.
It's the right time.
Sounds good. Okay, all right, anything?
I just want to repeat, you mentioned, can you repeat one more time what you said about the agenda items?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Agenda items are prepared by the mayor and the city manager. This is an opportunity on the agenda for the council members to suggest items to be brought back to the city council in a future council meeting if there is a consensus among the council members, which requires at least 3 of you.
Got it. I'm going to make a proposal. I know Mr. Rabbi and Jewish community came, and our Islamic community came, bringing them together and talking, or this council open up that humanitarian way of talking. I just want to bring that to the mayor, see whether I can get some consensus for future agenda items.
So our city manager and I have had a conversation about this, so you'll may see something in the next couple of weeks. Yep. Or by I think by December 12th meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's why I said, just because you're not seeing anything doesn't mean nothing's happening, so.
Mayor, I think it's at least, thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other items? Okay, all right, will the clerk please call the next item?
City manager reports.
Thank you. Just wanted to briefly share that I'm pleased to announce that we've selected Rebecca Neves as our new city manager and a city engineer, and she started this yesterday. And she has extensive background in civil engineering and public service. Rebecca is set to lead our city's engineering initiatives, fostering thoughtful community development, enhancing the overall quality of life for Folsom residents. Also want to mention that last week, the Folsom Cordova Unified School District, the City of Rancho Cordova, and the Rancho Cordova Police Department and our own police department jointly issued a message that as the holiday season draws near, it's important to address the potential dangers associated with minors riding e-scooters. While e-scooters might appear appealing, the safety implications are significant and deserve careful consideration. And help light up Folsom with holiday cheer. Enter your home, neighborhood, or business in the 3rd annual Folsom Holiday Lights Contest. Prizes will be awarded to the winners and provided by the Folsom Times, and you can find out more on our website. And then finally, wanted to mention that 4 residents from Folsom participated in a contest with Jeff Kinney, the author of the Wimpy Kid book series. The event, sponsored by Wild Sisters Book Company in Sacramento, was part of a promotional tour. The contest resulted in a almost $1,900 donation to the Folsom Public Library. And that's all I have to share, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Rohrbaugh?
Yeah, I have, I went to the National League of Cities, so I have lots to talk about on that. It was incredibly insightful. There were so many examples and experiences throughout the entire country of like cities, like the same population of cities. No one has money, but it doesn't seem to hinder anyone. They're getting grants, they're moving forward. There's a lot of exciting things. So I wish that there were more council members that came last time. I will be going in March to the congressional session again. It is one thing I encourage other council members to consider putting on their docket in the next few years to go. There's nothing like it. And so I will share more details in the upcoming next meeting. What I do want to say about tonight is I agree with some of the other council members saying our silence doesn't mean that we're not thinking or doing anything. One of the things that I pride myself on is responding to emails as quickly as I can, unless for some reason I forget one, and that does happen. But I haven't responded to the hundreds of emails that we've gotten. I thought there were more like 40 or 50, but I'm thinking you're right, it's about 100 or 200. And the silence isn't because I'm not hearing you or listening to you. I think we all are. Someone commented on how intent we are. I think we, as a council, we should pride ourselves that we all really want to hear people out. It's to not how to divide this community further. For me, we have two very unique situations, a very strong Muslim community and a very strong Jewish community. And as a leader in the city, I take it on personally that how do I look at the Folsom first and Folsom as a whole, and that's my number one priority. I know your priority is to other things too. But so that's where my silence comes, so I will be responding, but my response will come from me as a council member because we don't have a chance to talk about it as a whole. And whatever we do as a whole as a council, you'll see it play out on the dais. So I just want you to know too that silence from us doesn't necessarily mean we aren't hearing you. So I want to make sure you hear that.
Okay. Vice Mayor Chalam-Chorla.
Vice Mayor Chalam-Chorla. I know you all came and spoke here. I wish these policies or rules could have been a little easier for a common man. When people come and speak here from the agenda not prioritized on this council, open from the business, this council won't give any quick response to you. I know I try to tell my colleagues also, I know not many people came to the city council meetings, but some. We just want to emphasize something needs to be done. I think I'm proposing the agenda item, but my mayor already is thinking through and working through with city manager. Something has to happen on a humanitarian grounds, and I'll work towards both sides of the wall. Thank you.
Council Member Aquino.
So as you know, I represent the city on the board of the Sacramento Metropolitan Air Quality Management District. That is a mouthful for the agency that is responsible for implementing state and federal air quality standards. I am currently the vice chair and slated to be the chair in 25 and 26. And because of that, I was invited to join a very small delegation from the Air District to go to COP28, which is the United Nations Climate Change Conference. So I am leaving on Thursday for Dubai. I come back the day before our next council meeting.
Awesome.
It will be like drinking from a fire hose for me. My goal is to just be a sponge and soak up as much as I can, and I look forward to reporting out when I get back. But I will miss some events that I'm sorry to miss here in the next couple weeks, but I know the city will be well represented by all of you. So, and just for anybody watching, the city of Folsom is not paying anything for this trip. It is being paid for by the Air District and some by me personally because I'm extending my trip by a couple days. So anyway, look forward to seeing you all when I get back. I'll be very jet lagged, but I'll be here on the 12th.
Councilmember Kozlowski.
Nothing to report, but I do want to thank those of you that stayed to the end of this meeting to catch some commentary from us. The business from the floor part of our meetings has been frustrating for lots of people over many, many years because Robert's Rules of Order demand that we not engage in debate or discussion of topics that are raised that are not on the agenda. Okay, so my apologies for not being able to directly, express a reaction to any individual comments. But I will say that you are our neighbors. You've been extremely generous in hosting us at the Muslim Center and being great parts of our community. And our sympathies are, I'm speaking for myself, my sympathy is absolutely with you. The tragedy of what's happened is just that. It's a tragedy. it's difficult to put it in context while it's happening, but there are, just in my lifetime, which is, the last 55 years, there have been similar events that have happened in Ukraine, Congo, Nigeria, the Democratic Republic of Africa, Angola, Burkina Faso, Uganda, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, Yemen, currently, Armenia, that was longer ago, Sudan, Bosnia, Tibet, Myanmar, Rwanda, Indonesia, and the list goes on and on and on, and it is exhausting, and I totally understand how you feel. So with that, I will close my comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'm a very proud American. My parents are immigrants from a country where they were comfortable speaking up, but in Mexico, if you speak too much, then you have the chances of getting murdered. And so I appreciate being an American. I appreciate the last two meetings have really shown me that I love when people speak up and fight for things. If you know me very well, you know that I'm super opinionated. I got opinions about things that maybe you don't even want to hear, but I have opinions. And so I've appreciated hearing and spending hours. And there was a young woman who said, I think she made an assumption that we were frustrated or upset that people were here, but that is not true. When we signed up to run for office, one of the things that we ran for is that we love to hear people out. We love to know what is going on in the lives of people or how decisions that are made have consequences, and sometimes they're unintended consequences. And so, but we learn from that. And so I have appreciated the last couple of meetings and hearing from a community that we appreciate. We know the Muslim community has been an integral part of our city, even in the volunteerism and the hospitality that you have given me when I have visited the Muslim community. And so I appreciate that we have the ability to speak up and to really, truly fight for what we believe in. And so I just want you to know that I appreciate you all and the time that you have spent here. And I don't mind listening to people, even if it's late into the night. So I just want to leave you with that. We also have the Historic District will have the tree lighting event, which is a really huge event for the city of Folsom this coming Friday in the Historic District. And that is all I have for tonight. So with that, we will close tonight's meeting at 9:51 p.m. Okie dokie, smoky.